before the intruder pounded on the door. 38-year-old Cody Ballmer faces attempted murder, arson, and other charges and tells police he hates Governor Shapiro. America's listening to Fox News.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Unsettled skies with a cool front coming across St. Louis, partly to mostly cloudy skies for this afternoon. Still a chance of a couple of showers, mainly on the spot side. Gets a little breezy, 68. Tonight, partly cloudy, windy from the northwest, 46 for the low. Tuesday, plenty of sunshine, 63. Wednesday, sunny and 68. We've got some rain showers, better chance of rain Wednesday night and Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The Retirement Advisory Group, you can find them at 314-993-9494. That's 314-993-9494. They're there to help you feel calm through all of this chaos going on in the economy right now. If you are nearing retirement, he works especially, Thomas Elbig, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, they work especially with people just like you, folks who know that retirement is right around the corner. You've amassed a nice little nest egg and you want to make sure that it's protected from any sort of crazy market downturns, turns that you might encounter right now while the market is going crazy or in the future. You never know what's going to happen. You want to be insulated from that. And the Retirement Advisory Group can guide you through how to make that a possibility for you. Call and set up a no cost, no obligation conversation with them. And then when you talk to them, you'll learn how you can have a worry-free retirement. 314-993-9494, retirementkey.com.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, healthcare, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
Are you looking for an easy way to get a daily detox? Active Liver is the easy way to get a daily detox. To keep you healthy and feeling your best, you can find Active Liver in the vitamin aisle at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh yeah, this is the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Mannie Frey Show.
Oh man, we're pretty proud of that. This is Ryan and Brad. As the new open just said, not just the new open because Annie's not here today. We thought we'd have a little fun. We call it the Mannie Frey Show because it is Brad, it is Ryan, it is Ethan. Annie has the day off. We are having a little fun. I don't know about you. This is just a crazy time to be alive. And being in news is something else. People come up to me all the time and just want to talk about what they're experiencing. You know, I think we're all just experiencing different things than we're used to. And it's because of the politics. You know, this isn't like, oh, world events are happening and they have nothing to do with the president. Like, this is the president leading the change. And it's got everybody a little nervous. I was talking to a relative of mine this weekend, and I asked him, because I own some real estate and do business in real estate. He works in the mortgage industry. I said, what do you think is happening? Like, what's the consensus in the mortgage industry at large as to which direction things are headed? And he said, man, we have no freaking clue.
We don't know.
No, they have no idea. And he said, we usually get about 1 or 2 emails a week from corporate, just kind of saying, this is kind of what's going on. This is what we feel like's happening right now. Just be aware of blah, blah, blah. He said, we're getting 1 to 2 to 3 emails per day saying, well, okay, this is how we think we should handle this. I mean, I laugh because what else are you going to do? I mean, if you're in these industries or you're really worried about the stock market, you know, that's not really a safe feeling, but we're all in this together. And as Elon Musk has said before, I think it's a great quote. If the ship of America sinks, everybody sinks with it. There is no backup plan.
Right.
He's the one that could take us to Mars, and he says it ain't going to happen. So today's YouTube live chat poll is, do you feel safe in 2025? I get it. A lot of you commenting, context is everything. What exactly do you mean by do you feel safe? Well, that's up to you. Is it referring to the market? Is it referring to political violence? Do you drive a Tesla? Are you the governor of Pennsylvania? You know, there's a lot of ways that I don't think that you are, but if you are, how do you feel safe in 2025?
If you are, hi, thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shapiro. Appreciate you tuning into this show in St. Louis, Missouri. But we want to know, do you feel safe in 2025? And the options are, I'm feeling safer, I'm feeling less safe, kind of the 2 trends that it could be, or I feel about the same. And again, as same as what, you know, like, this is all in the eyes of the beholder here, but we just like to know. And that's, of course, where the comments come in. Let us know what you are feeling and why you said what you said. Brad, it sounds like, before we get into all this, because we got a lot here, I got a lot of stuff. We have a very full show. Cully Stimson's coming up next, legal fellow at Heritage. We're going to talk about that ruling with the Supreme Court that they got to bring back that MS-13 guy. We're going to talk about that. Steve Moore next hour, Ryan Schmelz. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill and what's all in that and where it's at. But before we get there, Brad, it sounds like just fish fry Friday. You went out, so I could interview Mark Reardon for the same reason, but you went out to Millstadt.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was Millstadt. And it sounds like it was a really good time.
Yeah, it was a really good time. A lot of you, some of you listening know, a lot of you don't know. I grew up in Millstadt. I lived there until the middle, about my 7th grade year. So whenever I heard they were going to be at Otz's Tavern out there, I was like, oh, man, I grew up in that place. So
and you knew how to pronounce it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's the correct way. That's the way we pronounce it. Millstadt. Okay. Otz's, not Otz.
Well, we were all saying Otz. So, Brad's from there, though. He knows.
Yeah, well, I don't know that it carries any more weight or if we're just mispronouncing it. At any rate, we went up there. The food is amazing. If you haven't been up there, go by the Otz. It's called the Millstadt Fish Stand in the back of Otz's Tavern. There's a little rock beer garden out there. You go order your food. They've got Otz's sauce, it's a secret sauce. It's really good. Still tastes the same as it did whenever I was a little kid. So the food is really good. But going back up there, I met a lot of people that I hadn't seen since I was a little kid. So like you look at them and you're like, I do recognize you. Oh yeah, this is who you are. So hi to everybody that I saw out there. It was good seeing you. It was good talking to you guys again. And then got to tell a couple stories about growing up in that area and what it was like and how, like, in a town of 4,000, everybody knows everybody.
Still that way?
It absolutely is. Yeah. All the businesses are owned by people who know the other people that own the businesses.
Now, whenever we have an event with 97.1, whether it be show related, like if we're out at Ruler Foods or something like that, or in the case of the fish fries, that was the Mark Reardon show event. Mark Cox does a lot of appearances with Heroes Care and things. I mean, we do too, but this is the different events that we have going on all the time. We always get like a Monday email if it's a weekend of here's how it went, here's some pictures, thanks to everybody who participated and put this thing on. And it sounds like the fish fries went really, really well. So thanks for everybody to coming out. It sounds like the Millstat one was really packed.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, there was a lot of people out there. That place is always packed, especially on a Friday in Lent. Millstadt is an old school Catholic German town, so lots of Catholics there. You eat fish on Fridays, and like I said, the Millstadt fish stand is phenomenal. So
the question of the day again is: do you feel safe in 2025? Again, a lot of ways to interpret that. Charles Payne has had a great quote here. I want to play it, talking about people feeling nervous.
I dissected this market in several ways. First and foremost, the earnings from Delta this morning were phenomenal. So we keep getting this soft data on how consumers are recoiling. Well, how did they recoil? Delta's earnings were phenomenal. A 20% spike in mortgages to purchase homes. So people are maybe telling folks that they're nervous, but they're going about their business. They have been so far in a positive way.
So I pulled this article up from Victor Davis Hanson. He's kind of went viral recently for talking about the positive side of the tariffs. He's an economist. He wrote this for American Greatness. And it's a bunch of questions that are basically rhetorical, but they're asking you to consider these questions. He's asking you to consider these questions when you think about the tariffs. I thought it was valuable. And I'll just go through them one by one. First of all, Trump's so-called trade war. Many call the American effort to obtain either tariff parity or reduction in the roughly $1 trillion trade deficit and 50 years of consecutive trade deficits a trade war. But then what do they call the policies of the past half century by Europe, Asia, China, and others to ensure asymmetrical tariffs? Pseudo health and security trade restrictions and large surpluses? What would you call that? Trade peace? They were clearly not acting in our best interest. They were acting in their own best interest.
Right.
So his question is, why would we not do the same?
I mean, he makes a great point there. I know it's kind of a rhetorical question, but it's a solid point because I think of it like this. Imagine you're walking down the street and somebody comes up and starts assaulting you. Is the right thing to do not to defend yourself?
Is it just, I seek peace.
Yeah.
It's a good question. And it's one that we don't ask enough. And here's the deal. And I'll read a couple more of these because I think there's a lot to this, but we don't even know how to ask questions about the tariffs because this was on nobody's radar except for Donald Trump's. Now, it's not that he didn't do any of this in his first term. It's just that he didn't go to this length in his first term because I don't think he was ready to go to these lengths in his first term. He's been talking about this for 30, 40 years, so that's not new. But as far as using tariffs or solving these problems, the imbalance of trade, some economists say we don't care. We don't care that there is an imbalance of trade. But a lot of American workers do. I tell you what, the unions do. They very much care. And people who've lost their jobs for the last 35 years very much care about these things. So Wall Street, they're not going to care as much. They want bottom line constantly. And that's fine. That's what they're there to do. But the people who are working don't care as much about the C-suite as they do about their own jobs. And this is the first president who's stepping up and saying, and his whole cabinet's saying this. It's not just him. It's not like he's messaging. They're acting out, caring about the working class. There was a clip last week from Scott Bessent. Now, if I met Scott Bessent before he was the Treasury Secretary, I would not think, oh, he's a working class hero. This guy looks like the epitome of a Wall Street character. That's what he looks like. But he said last week something that I just can't shake. And I even was talking about it with my wife this weekend. I'm like, there's something really important about this. He said, and I'll get the numbers close. I may not get them exactly right. He said that 88% of the stock market is owned by 8% of the population. 88% of the stock market is owned by 8% of the population. Then you have about 42% that owns 12% of the stock market. And that's all of it. That's all of the stock market owned by basically 50% of the population, but really 8% that owns almost all of it. The rest of it, which would be probably you listening, maybe you listen. I mean, not everybody, but if you have an IRA, if you have a 401k, you have a little share of that. You're part of the 12%. You're trying to save away something for retirement. You're being responsible. You're looking at your accounts, maybe right now, especially if you're close to retirement, you're going, oh gosh, this is really scary because you wanted to be taking money out and your portfolio's dropped. You're probably in that 12%. But Scott Bessent went further and said one more thing that really hit home. And it's that 50% of the population owns nothing. Not just of the stock market. They really don't own anything.
Was he saying debt?
He said, yeah, that's exactly what he said. He said 50% of the population, if you're not part of the 50 that owns any of the stock market, you're basically just in debt. You don't really own anything. In fact, you owe everything. You owe everything you have. You're either paying off your house. If you're lucky, you might own some of your house. You might have a little equity in your house. But more likely, you're probably renting. You're probably paying off a car. Maybe you have a car at best. But that's 50% of the population.
Well, right. When you calculate net worth, it's what your assets are minus your debt. And so even like if you are buying a house and you've paid off your cars aren't going to offset the debt that is still owed on your home.
Yeah. And that may be some of the 12% too, because he's talking also about just people who own the stock market. But basically what he's saying is if you really start to parse out the American economy, there's 50% of our entire population that is just getting hit by every angle.
Right.
Your food's going up, your cars are going up, your rent's going up. If you have a mortgage that's locked in, God bless you, because it just went up too. And that's what they're thinking about when they're doing this whole economic thing. And that's what Victor Davis Hanson is kind of hitting on with all these points, which we're not going to get to all of them, but just a couple more. He says, you know what? I'm going to flip over to the ones that really matter because he's talking more about the national scope of things. But I like this one a lot. It says, what if wages went up at the rate of the stock market? Rhetorical question, of course, but that hasn't happened. What's weird is there was this massive transfer of wealth in 2020, 2021, where they printed all this money and they told us all, well, we have to do this. Otherwise, the economy would collapse. Well, okay, you convinced everybody to do it and it was bipartisan. I'm not saying that Trump wasn't a part of that in 2020, but they doubled down on it in 2021. They spent even more. And you know where all that money went? Straight to the top.
Yep.
Straight to the top. And you know what? Where all that money didn't go? Anywhere near that bottom 50%. Right. All it did to them was it increased inflation. It made everything cost more. And if you are trying to pay off anything, you know, your interest rates are higher. It's just been terrible for the bottom 50%. And it used to be you'd talk about the bottom 20 or the bottom 30. Scott Bessent saying, no, we have a bottom 50% that doesn't own anything.
Right.
That's a bad place to be in America. And so the overarching goal of this whole article and hopefully the tariffs in general is that he's trying to reset everything. Will it work? I don't know. Like I said, he's doing stuff that none of us were even thinking about. Nobody was thinking about, oh gosh, we really need to fix the trade balance with China. Nobody was saying it. If they were kind of marginalized. Right. Everybody knew China was an issue, but you really didn't know how you're going to solve it because you're like, I'm not going to keep them from making my see and spells for my kids. I want Christmas presents and they're cheap. So what are you going to do about it? Trump's doing it and it's going to be maybe painful. Another question he asks is Wall Street's panic based on what might happen or what is happening? Is this reaction to March's latest jobs reports that there were 93,000 more jobs created than predicted? Was the Wall Street panic predicated on reports of much lower oil prices? Did the fear arise over the March inflation report that the annualized inflation dipped to 2.6%? Keep in mind what he's saying. He goes through a whole bunch more of these numbers. All the other economic numbers actually are pretty decent, if not good. It's the big Wall Street numbers that are scaring everybody. And it's easy to look at the market and say, oh man, that's in the red, and say that's the economy. Well, it's not entirely. It could affect the economy. We're not saying it can't, but that's not where things are at right now. So the question is the panic justified? Is cutting billions, maybe trillions of dollars from the U.S. government budget bad for the economy? Well, short term, when you know that all the job growth over the last 4 years has been government jobs, yeah, that's kind of bad, but it's not long-term bad. It's long-term good. So the question is, how fast is this going to turn around? Are we going to have to go through a little bit of pain? We're going to have to go through a lot of pain? I don't know. Nobody knows the answer to that question.
Well, the thing that you have to remember too is the pain can't be too long, or you won't get a chance to see it to the end, because elections happen every 2 years.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a big gamble, but he's been saying that he wanted to do it since he was on Oprah in 1987.
Yeah, for sure.
So the fact that he didn't do it in his first term, and the fact that he had a term off to prepare, that's why he's doing this stuff so fast. That's the goal. The question is, will we get there, and will we get there fast enough? It's a good point, Brad. He's only got 4 years. Well, he's only got 2 years before midterms.
Yeah.
Hopefully, by the time we get to the midterms, the pain will be in the rearview mirror, but that remains to be seen. This is the Mannie Frey Show. Ryan and Brad in with you. Like I said, we have a very, very full show and some fun stuff later. I don't know if you watched SNL this weekend. There's some good and there's some bad. We'll play both later in the show. Cully Stimson is the senior legal fellow at Heritage. We're going to talk about some of the Supreme Court decisions that have come down recently. That's coming up next.
I couldn't wait. And you rescued me.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Mannie Frey Show.
Hi, Chad Hansen with Hansen's Tree Service. You know your trees can't talk, but if they could, they'd be calling me. From trimming to treatments, we'll make your trees the healthiest and happiest on the block. Call us before your trees start giving you the silent treatment. Check us out at hansenstree.com.
If you're a supporter of the Second Amendment, you need to be a member of the Range St. Louis West. Mark Cox here. You know, they get free lanes and free firearm rentals, 5% off firearms and suppressors, 10% off accessories, and 15% off classes. The new benefit on Sundays from 10 to noon, the lanes are for members only. And in April, you get 2 free basic cleanings of a modern firearm. Check them out at 14803 Manchester Road in Baldwin, therangestl.com. It's time to get outside and enjoy the great outdoors. Mark Cox here from my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck, where they've got a great deal for you right now. Mention Mark when you call them, and you're going to get 20% off your next outdoor project. And the options are just about limitless. They will help you design your project if you already know what you want in your backyard, or they'll bring a digital photo gallery and let you see maybe what your neighbors have been doing. And then you can go in and you can pick the project that works best for you. Maybe it's a new sunroom. Maybe it is a pergola, a patio, the retaining walls. The list is long. You're going to love working with my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. They have financing options available with up to 60 months at 0 interest. And right now, remember, you get that 20% off when you reach out and tell them Mark Cox sent you. All you have to do is go online today to chesterfieldfence.com.
Let me tell you one of the reasons I think we became the largest injury firm in the world, and it's not even close. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. My wife and I had a plan early on. In our firm, our lawyers only work on certain types of cases. Our products liability and dangerous drug lawyers only work on those cases. Same for car crashes, workers' compensation, medical malpractice, and insurance disputes. Our thinking is for these lawyers to focus on one area of the law and live it and breathe it. Power comes from knowledge. Many lawyers do everything, jack of all trades. Not us. And we don't charge an hourly rate. You only pay us if we win. If you want to hire us, it's easy. Dial Pound Law on your cell phone, pound 529, or visit forthepeople.com on your phone or computer from the comfort of your own home. Let us get to work for you. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you're looking for the best eye care in St. Louis, look no further than the doctors of Ophthalmology Associates. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andrew Royer. Make your appointment today at yourEyeDoc.com or call 314-966-5000. Ophthalmology Associates.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. The news is fast. Listening to your favorite show at 1.5 speed is even faster. Download the podcast of your favorite 97.1 show. Upload it to the Odyssey app every day, all for your listening convenience. This is the Annie Frey Show.
I dissected this market in several ways. First and foremost, the earnings from Delta this morning were phenomenal. So we keep getting this soft data on how consumers are recoiling. Well, how did they recoil? Delta's earnings were phenomenal. A 20% spike in mortgages to purchase homes. So people are maybe telling folks that they're nervous, but they're going about their business. They have been so far in a positive way.
Well, we've been talking about the economy a little bit in this first segment here on the Annie Frey Show. Ryan Wiggins filling in for Annie. We've got Cully Stimson on the phone right now to talk some legal. He's the Senior Legal Fellow at Heritage. Cully, thanks for being here.
Great to be with you.
Cully, let's talk a little bit about this Supreme Court case that over the weekend got a lot of headlines, and I was reading into it, and I still am a little bit unsure what everybody's position is on this. Just explain the situation. This guy that got deported to El Salvador, but now they're saying, no, you got to legally bring him back. What's the deal with this?
Yeah. So he was here illegally in the country. He faced deportation hearings. He got a deportation order and final order of removal during the previous administration. They didn't kick him out because he didn't show up for his deportation flight home. The Trump administration sent him to El Salvador. ACLU and others ran to court and said, wait, wrong guy, shouldn't deport him. And they got a district court judge to say that the Trump administration need to bring him back. That got appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, understanding that they can't order the commander-in-chief to do things like that, said that the Trump administration should attempt to facilitate his return. It just so happens that the president of El Salvador was coming to the White House today. They had the meeting. The president asked for him to send him back. And the president of El Salvador, President Bukele, said, I'm not doing that. Why would I send a terrorist back to your country? How can I import a terrorist into your country? That's the end of it.
So, Cully, what I keep reading, though, from the mainstream news, which is not always the most pro-Trump, they seem to have a bit of a slant at times, is that Trump is openly defying the court. Is that what's happening?
No. The high court was very clear that the administration needed to attempt to facilitate the return. The way a chief executive of a country facilitates something is you ask the chief executive of the other country where the person is, can I have him back? If the person says no, that's the end of the discussion. You don't send the Navy SEALs in, break them out of a prison, bring them back on a C-130 and say, we facilitated it. Thank you, Supreme Court. We're going to kidnap people from foreign countries. You ask the sovereign of the foreign country. And if the sovereign says no, that's the end of it.
Cully, I think would be helpful is when we talk about these district courts and Supreme Court, obviously everybody knows the Supreme Court's at the top, but what is the line of succession? Are they bringing it to the people right below the Supreme Court and then the Supreme Court has to overturn it? Or are there courts in between the district and the Supreme? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. So remember, under the Constitution, under Article 3, it sets up a Supreme Court. That's it. Doesn't say how many justices. And then it says, and lower courts as the Congress shall decide. And so because of the Judiciary Act of 1789 and other acts since then, they've created the federal circuit courts around the country. And they also have created federal district court. Think of them as trial judges. And there's hundreds of them spread around the country. And what has happened, especially during the Trump administration, is left-wing liberal advocates will look for a blue state, supposed left-wing, left-leaning federal district court judge, file a case in front of her or him, and then get a ruling in their favor. knowing that if they do a temporary injunction or so-called nationwide injunction, that slows the Trump administration down to a complete halt. That can be appealed to the circuit court, but there's a dozen of them around the country. And there's only one Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court only takes 60 to 70 cases a year. So they know that if they flood the zone with all these cases before these liberal federal district court judges, that they're going to thwart the momentum of the Trump administration.
So they've been fairly successful at doing that, but they keep bringing them to the district courts. Does that mean the Trump administration, the White House, can then appeal those at the circuit court level before it goes to the Supreme Court? And are they doing that?
That's the way the ball bounces. You got to start in the district court. You got to start in the trial court. Trial courts are supposed to build a record. They're the finders of fact. And then the losing party, in most instances, can appeal to the circuit court, the appeals courts. Those are not finders of fact. They rule on the law only. There's no juries, there's no witnesses, et cetera. They're just arguments by counsel. And then the losing party there, in most instances, can try to ask the Supreme Court, please take our case. But the Supreme Court takes cases at their own discretion. That's what's called a certificate or a petition for certiorari. That means, please take my case. 7,000 cases, litigants ask for their case to go to the Supreme Court. 60 or 70 get taken up every year. So 10% shot.
Cully Stimson is on the phone with a senior legal fellow at Heritage. So in your view, Cully, who is winning this battle right now? Is the Trump administration, yes, it's slowing it down, but they're eventually winning these cases, or is the left actually stopping the Trump agenda?
Well, they're certainly trying. And when you have, for example, Judge Reyes here in the District of Columbia, after Trump issued the ban on people with gender dysphoria from serving on active duty in the military, and Secretary Pete Hegseth issued a DOD directive to that effect, she ruled and issued a temporary injunction against the Trump administration. So apparently she's playing junior admiral in the Navy, so they cannot process people with gender dysphoria, which is a mental health disorder, out of the military. And the cases go on and on and on. And so the Trump administration was smart. They had 4 years in the wilderness to try to prepare for Trump 2.0. They flooded the zone themselves with a tsunami of executive orders, and the left has started to get their act together, and they've been, the resistance is alive and well. So it's an ongoing battle, and I suspect, knowing the left as I do, they will continue that for all 4 years.
We've seen a lot of bluster in Congress about them say, well, we need to stop activist judges from single-handedly, stopping an elected president from carrying out what the people voted for. But is Congress able to, and are they actually moving toward doing anything to stop this process or to change it?
Well, yeah, two quick points. First answer is yes. Actually, Heritage came up with an idea in 2017. My colleague Hans von Spakovsky, who's on this radio program all the time, wrote a paper and testified about how instead of just letting one judge issue a temporary injunction or a nationwide injunction to cover the whole country, you should do what you do in the voting rights area, and that is have 3 federal district court judges get together for any case where the person is asking for a nationwide injunction. And then the losing party can immediately appeal to the Supreme Court, in other words, skip over the courts of appeals. That has been drafted into a bill. That bill has now passed. It's called the SAVE Act, the House. So we'll see, because the Senate and the House are out for 2 weeks. We'll see whether the Senate takes it up and they can get it over the 60-vote margin. The other thing to point out is the remedy for curing a bad opinion tends in the past to be appealing that opinion. But some of these opinions are so far out of the mainstream that a SAVE Act is a remedy that the House has now passed and the Senate should seriously consider. Because, by the way, it works both ways, right? The left complained when red states were suing the Biden administration for things like, for example, Biden illegally just paying off student loans, and they stopped him. He lost at the Supreme Court. And so I suspect if the lefties actually think about it, they actually would they would support the SAVE Act.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's another major news item that's working its way through, obviously through Congress. Like you said, the House has already passed it. Will the Senate pass it? Will they get over the filibuster to be able to pass it? But the argument that I keep seeing, and I'm hoping you could shed some light on this because I genuinely don't know. They're saying, the left is saying, well, we can't pass the SAVE Act because it would make it harder for women to vote. Is that true?
Of course not. Of course not. Last time I checked, you and I and everyone we know who's 16 or older has to have a real ID compliant ID. Usually you get it through your DMV. I'm married. I don't know if you're married, but my wife, who's a professional, she didn't have a hard time voting. No one I know has a hard time voting. It's the same canard about requiring voter ID. It's the same tried and true and fake response that, well, if you require a voter ID to vote totals, especially in the black community, is going to go down. Of course, as soon as those states rolled those things out, Indiana, North Carolina, Georgia, vote totals went up in those communities. They also offered those IDs for free. So no one's going to be denied. And by the way, don't women have jobs? Because last time I checked, they do. And to get a job, they have to prove that they're lawfully able to work in this country, which means they have to have already shown the proof of citizenship or work authorization. So it's a complete farce, and it's meant to give them the patina of a fig leaf to vote against it.
Yeah, it seems like the argument, and I didn't want to just assume this, but I mean, we've seen this playbook enough times that I'm like, well, I figure that's what it is. That the argument was, at its core, we think that white men are the only people smart enough to get IDs. I mean, that's what it seemed to boil down to. And I'm like, that can't be the Democrat argument, is it?
Yeah, but they've used it before. Remember when Indiana passed a voter ID law, Georgia passed a voter ID law, Georgia passed a voter ID law. The best argument they could come up with was, well, this is confusing. It'll drive down the black vote. It's expensive, so they made them free. They provided them transportation to get the ID. No one hardly took them up on that, and the vote totals in the African-American community went up. And so there's no there, but they'll keep trotting out the same argument because for some reason their political consultants say it's working. It's not. It's actually boomeranging against them.
Cully, before
no one buys it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I try to approach these things and think, well, maybe, is there a realistic, argument against this? But I just couldn't find it, so I wanted to ask.
I can't find it.
Especially in light of states having done these things and voter turnout going up. I mean, there really is no argument against it. Cully, before we run out of time with you, though, your book, I want to just ask you to just give us kind of an idea about your book, because I love the topic. Rogue Prosecutors: How Radical Soros Lawyers Are Destroying America's Communities. What do people get when they buy this book?
Well, you get a whole chapter on Kim Gardner, your former DA there. And it's a true crime novel. So it's like a John Grisham-y type novel. But we focus on 8 cities where there were Soros bought and paid for rogue prosecutors and tell true crime stories that happened in those cities that would not have happened had they been law and order DAs. We also trace in the first chapter the origins, playbook, and belief of the movement. Comes out of the prison abolitionist movement, comes out of the belief that if you send somebody to prison, it's a modern day slave plantation. Those are their words, not my words. And the second chapter traces all the money paid by the billionaires, including Soros, to buy these prosecutors, $50 million or more in direct spending and about $1 billion in indirect spending. And then the last chapter is the way forward and how you can identify a Soros type candidate and make sure that you do the right thing and don't put them in office in the first place.
I know I said that was a lot.
On Audible, by the way, too.
I saw real quick though. A lot of these NGOs. This is a totally different, huge topic. So I know there's no time, but is a lot of this money that's funding these things, is this starting to dry up?
No, not on the Soros Road prosecutors. In fact, his son Alex said he's going to double down. And so look for so-called safety and justice PACs at the state level, because those are the Soros front machines to fund these radical rogues who are pro-criminal, anti-victim, and cop haters.
Thanks for shooting straight with us, Cully Stimson. I appreciate your time, and you're always invited to come back to St. Louis and see how it's doing. Hopefully, from your outsider's perspective, we're turning the corner.
Would love it. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cully. Senior fellow at Heritage and a legal mind that we love here on the Annie Frey Show. Haven't talked to him in a while, Brad. Appreciate you getting him on for this Mannie Frey Show. So, in light of it being Annie Frey free on the Annie Frey Show today, we are going to have Wiggins America coming up next. But the way that we do this when I'm hosting is that Ethan takes over Wiggins America, and so he will have the Monday Roundup coming up next on the Annie Frey Show.
On Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Mannie Frey Show.
They told us nothing but lies.
These timeshare thieves out there are terrible.
They bullied us.
It was a nightmare. We felt stuck.
Our timeshare is all a scam.
They stole from us. They were thieves.
I was completely taken advantage of.
Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder and CEO of Wesley Financial Group, and I know the tough spot you're in. Are you asking yourself, why did I buy that timeshare? I'll tell you why, because that presentation wasn't a normal sales pitch. It was a show to convince you that timeshare is a great investment. They told you it was available today and today only. They said you're foolish if you don't buy, and unfortunately, you believed them. We get over 3,000 complaints a week from folks just like you that were misled into buying a timeshare. Give us a call. I guarantee you, if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free information kit. 800-314-2233. 800-314-2233. 800-314-2233.
Step outside and fall in love with your backyard again. From inviting porch overhangs to durable composite decks and cozy screen rooms, Lakeside Renovation and Design creates stunning outdoor living spaces designed for relaxation, entertaining, and making memories. With expert craftsmanship and top-quality materials, your new outdoor oasis will be perfect for every season. Call Lakeside Renovation and Design today or visit lakesiderd.com to get started. Let's turn your backyard into the retreat you've always dreamed of.
If you're the victim of a car accident or suffered a work injury in St. Louis, you want attorneys who live here and work here to handle your case. You want someone who knows St. Louis and is about St. Louis. You want Kaufman Townsley. Call 314-500-5000.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 55 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
This much. All the girls stop your feet like this. Few times been around that track, so it's not just gonna happen like that, 'cause it ain't no holler back, girl.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Mannie Frey Show.
It's gonna happen like that, 'cause ain't no holler back, girl. Ain't no holler back,
This is a tough song to listen to with kids because you got to find the clean version. There's a lot of edits in that song. You had to find the clean version for playing on the radio, too.
I got really excited when I heard that you had new Mannie Frey Show opens because I was like, oh, this is the perfect song for a Wiggins America, let alone for like when that music hits. Just this is the Mannie Frey Show right in the middle of Gwen Stefani.
But it's your segment, so you were setting yourself up.
Correct. But then I heard that the new Mannie Frey Show open doesn't even include my name. And I got a little bit offended. I'm not going to lie, Ryan.
It's tricky, Ethan, because you're not in every segment. So I wasn't really sure whether we should say Ethan for all of them. You know what we'll do? We'll make some new liners, some new drops that have your name so that if you're sitting here, Brad can play them. And if you're not, we'll play the other ones and you'll never know the difference.
Okay.
It's like when Hannah
sounds great in theory.
It's like when Hannah didn't wear her headphones.
Yeah. If we just assume that when Ethan's not in the room, he has no idea there's a radio show happening. That's what I'm implying. You ready for Wiggins America?
Yes, I am. There's
Wiggins! Monday Roundup! Yeah! This here's the wildest ride in the wilderness!
Go ahead.
what I was going to say is that it's about 50-50. If I hear my name, then I'm like, wait, what? Huh? But otherwise, the odds aren't great. Okay, Wiggins America, a little Monday roundup action. We're going to start off with sports before we get to the real tea. Yesterday, well, really all weekend, was the Masters.
Called it the tea.
He called it the tea. Yeah. He said real tea, and I was like real tea?
Real tea.
Oh, real tea. Okay.
Yeah. You'll work with the Utes.
Yeah, spilling tea.
But speaking of tees, Rory McIlroy was hitting him real well off the tee this weekend. He ends up winning his first Masters, defeating Justin Rose in a playoff on Sunday. So I thought there was actually some interesting stuff about this Masters. Both were at 11 under par after playing the full 72 holes. So they went into a sudden death, which happens at these big majors.
Didn't
like
Rory kind of almost boof it twice?
He became the first winner of the Masters to have 2 double bogeys. His first day was not good, but he had this epic comeback throughout the rest of the weekend. Just goes to show how good he really is. So they go into a sudden death playoff on the 18th hole, where it's a par 4, and McIlroy shot 1 under, and Justin Rose was the guy that got second. He ended up shooting a par. McIlroy won $4.2 million. Woo. That is a record amount for the Masters, a $600,000 increase from last year, what Scotty Scheffler earned. The total purse for the tournament, $21 million. It's a pretty expensive purse.
21 million is a lot, but it ain't Stacey Abrams money.
It ain't. Listen, it is not a coach purse, right? It's not. What was the guy's name that we were?
Craig T. Nelson.
It's not a Craig T. Nelson purse.
By the way, if you don't know what we're talking about, I pitched to my wife over the weekend because my wife's birthday is 2 days separate from Annie's, so it's real easy to remember all the women in my life, and so it's really nice. So we were talking about how for oh shoot, should we say it? She's not here.
She could be listening.
Oh, yeah, we should. Okay.
What are the chances?
So we were talking about how funny it would be to give somebody a coach purse, but it was just a purse with pictures of Craig T. Nelson from the show Coach on it. And I pitched that idea to my wife. Like, would you want this for your birthday? Because I know you'd rather spend the $40 on something else. And she's like, something else. Do not get me that purse. Like, okay, you're not going to get
on the show
purse
on Friday or Thursday, Annie said she definitely would carry that purse.
So maybe there's
maybe
a future for that. All right.
So it was also a pretty significant win for McIlroy, but also just for golf in general, because with the victory, he now has achieved a career Grand Slam, which is where you have won all 4 of the major championships, which include the Masters, the Players' Championship, the U.S. Open, and then the Open Championship, which is the British Open. He becomes the second active player to do so, the other one being Tiger Woods, and only the 6th to ever do it. So, I mean, like, if Rory McIlroy wasn't the best ever to do it before this, he most definitely is now.
That was a pretty entertaining ending, right?
Super entertaining.
Because I called my dad in the midst of it. I wasn't watching it. And I called him, and he's like, no, I'm watching the Masters. So it must have been a really good,
well,
really good end.
Any time that you get down to a playoff, like, it gets pretty exciting there at the very end. But also the Masters, there's something different about the Masters. They don't allow phones. You have to keep your phones in.
So have you ever been?
I've never been.
I got invited by a friend of mine who entered the lottery and won tickets in 2017.
Okay.
And it was really tricky because my wife was pregnant, and I'm like, honey, but he got tickets to the Masters.
It's the Masters.
And she said, go for it. So I did. But
no way.
We went down there in 2017. I don't remember who won that year, but we weren't there for the actual tournament. We were just there for a practice round.
Sure.
But still, just getting to go down there was really cool. And I don't know if I've ever told this story before.
Sergio Garcia was the winner of the 2017 Masters.
He, I don't know if we saw him. We saw a lot of him. We was walking around. And just being at Augusta is cool because it's like you said, there's a really unique culture around that course and around that tournament. And the whole pimento cheese sandwiches, you know what I'm talking about?
I know that the food there is really cheap.
It's very cheap. It's like $2-3 for a sandwich, which they could be charging $40. And they're these pimento cheese sandwiches. If you've never heard of this, they sell it now at Walmart and stuff, where it's like egg salad kind of. You just put it on a couple pieces of bread. And I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. But it rained all day the day we were there. And my buddy was so mad. I just felt like, oh, this is great. I mean, I got to walk around the Masters and just be there. But then we left. And because it's close enough to Atlanta, we drove it was just constant rain. We finally got fed up with it, and they actually shut it down, so we couldn't really do anything. So we left. We drove to where they shot The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah,
we just drove around that stuff. That was like
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
the
just
rain
as cool.
probably made that even cooler.
Yeah,
if you can go on an overcast day, whenever you get the shot of the bridge,
that's
super cool. Yeah,
it's most of it's within a couple of miles of each other
Yeah.
too. That show's been on for so long now that there's probably stuff that I don't even know what it is. But the early season stuff's all like the jail and all this stuff's really close together, all outside of Atlanta.
That's super cool. Yeah, no phones allowed into the Masters for the media either. They have to keep it, I guess, in the media clubhouse area. It just makes I feel like it just makes it way more intimate. And
they should do that at movie theaters. Phones checked at the door.
Maybe the Minecraft chicken jockey wouldn't be such a huge issue.
Did you see the person set off fireworks in the theater at that point?
I did.
This is getting out of hand.
What is happening with stupid Minecraft movie?
Unbelievable.
You were the first person to report on it.
In fact, I felt really stupid the first day that it got brought up because I think it was during a Wiggins America. It may have been last week's Monday Roundup. I randomly yelled chicken jockey, and you guys all
none of us knew.
No one knew what I was
talking
saying.
about.
So then it got brought up again during Sue's News on the Mark Reardon show. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let it play out this time.
This is your trial ground for the afternoon drive.
Exactly. Correct. So, no, that was kind of funny. Listen, there's no real good way of transitioning into this next topic. So I'm just going to say it. Katy Perry went to space this morning. Yeah, the pop. Hold on, Brad. The pop star Katy Perry. Yeah, that one. She, journalist Gayle King, Jeff Bezos' fiance Lauren Sanchez. They were all part of Blue Origin's flight to the edge of space. Now, the Blue Origin is a company that is owned by Jeff Bezos, so maybe that is part of the reason why Sanchez was able to go, as well as a couple of other people.
Yeah, I would guess.
Partially owned by her as well.
But the trip is catching some heat from people on the internet that are trying to figure out what the purpose was behind this trip. And as far as I know, people are still trying to figure out that reason, Brad.
Ripped off by this Katy Perry space mission. I really thought this team was going to be in space for a substantial amount of time, not 2 minutes. This was the trip. This is the space that Katy Perry just went into.
It's a parabola, just up and down.
It wasn't even space. It was the edge of space. I mean, I hate to be a hater. I wouldn't have done this. I would have said, no, I'm not going. But they were there for a second. And I'm a Katy Perry lover, not a hater. Katy Perry, probably one of my number one crushes ever.
Amen.
Till this day. But she tweeted out, I love you. Like she was going really up there, like all the way up there where those astronauts just got stuck. But no, this was just a simple little trip. It was like roller coaster. You know the roller coasters that they have at the fair that are like small for kids? That's what they did. I just feel a little
she got out
off.
and
That's
kissed the ground.
But just a little. I forgot it was happening. I heard, oh, they're going up to space. I was like, oh, they'll be up there for a little bit. I was planning on making a TikTok. It was like, Katy Perry's in space right now. I would have. I had a 2-minute window to make it.
So it's already done? It's already happened?
They were up there. It happened this morning. The trip in total was 11 minutes. They were
including the from the ground to ground.
They were technically in space for 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah, what is the point? Actually, I can tell you what the point is. It's so that Katy Perry could tweet out, and sorry for little ears, but her quote was, "I'm going to put the ass in astronaut."
God. So Lady Gaga had a tweet that has since been deleted that said, I've had farts that have lasted longer.
Lady Gaga tweeting about farts. I'm in. I didn't know that was ever going to happen.
Is my audio up, Brad? Over here?
Yep.
So Katy Perry had commented this morning on it.
It is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown, trust, and this whole journey is not just about going to space. It's the training, it's the team, it's the whole thing. I couldn't recommend this experience more. This is like up there with all the, different tools that I've learned in my life, from meditation to the Hoffman process. This is up there because what you're doing is you're like really finding the love for yourself, because you got to trust in yourself on this journey. And then you're feeling the love when you come down, for sure. And you're feeling that strength. So I feel really connected to that strong divine feminine right now.
What does that mean?
You got to really trust in yourself.
Strong, divine feminine?
You just got to trust the Hoffman process, whatever the hell that is.
What does that mean?
Okay.
That absolutely killed me.
I love that she's just along for the ride. Like, her job is to sit in there and hang on. And she's like, you just really got to trust yourself.
You could have taken that quote and just applied it to somebody she was talking about on American Idol, and it would have been the same thing. That's the same garble, positive, meaningless
And
stuff.
here's the best part is now I'm starting to see articles that like historic first all feminine origin flight to space. And I'm like, what are we? What
Did
are we
they
doing?
steer the?
No, there's no way Katy
Who piloted
Perry.
it, or was it just like autopilot?
I don't know that, but there's no way that it was Katy Perry.
Hopefully, it was Gayle King. As you know, huge fan of Gayle King here. But Katy Perry,
Ryan's childhood crush.
Yeah, my childhood crush went up too, Ethan.
Wow.
Hey, if you couldn't tell, this is the Mannie Frey Show, and we'll be right back.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA, so we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't pay, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
New friends. I'm Therese Crowley, Fox News. President Trump hosting the president of El Salvador in the Oval Office, who plays host to deported migrant criminals at his mega prison.
Mr. President, it's an honor to have you. Thank you. You're doing incredibly for your country, and we appreciate working with you because you want to stop crime, and so do we.
Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House.
The president and his team have spent the whole weekend talking up this new U.S.-El Salvador relationship, especially the part that allows federal officials here to send dangerous accused criminals there and populate El Salvador's prisons. Of course, one person has been determined by courts to be wrongfully deported. His name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The Supreme Court has weighed in to say the White House has to facilitate his return, but folks here do not want to do much at all to help.
President Bukele of El Salvador says he will not help smuggle one of his own citizens back to the U.S. President Trump tweaking the retaliatory tariffs as his negotiators work on multiple countries' trade deals, with a focus this week on smartphones, computers, and other electronics. Fox's Jackie Heinrich.
For a minute, it looked like computers, smartphones, semiconductor manufacturing equipment, wireless routers, memory chips, and other electronics might escape the tariffs entirely until the president said they are still subject to that 20% charge he imposed over fentanyl, posting online that nobody is getting off the hook. And he says this week we will get some more guidance about new charges for that sector specifically. Some confusion was spurred from the mixed messaging. The Commerce Secretary said on one of the Sunday shows the exemption was never meant to give the industry a free pass forever and that the new charges would be announced soon. So that made it sound like the tariffs hadn't been put in place yet, but the president's post indicated the electronics were still subject to that 20% fentanyl charge.
White House Economic Director Kevin Hassett tells Fox several deals are in the works and he doesn't expect the U.S. to go into recession. America's listening to Fox News.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Unsettled skies with a cool front coming across St. Louis, partly to mostly cloudy skies for this afternoon. Still a chance of a couple of showers, mainly on the spot side. Gets a little breezy, 68. Tonight, partly cloudy, windy from the northwest, 46 for the low. Tuesday, plenty of sunshine, 63. Wednesday, sunny and 68. We've got some rain showers, better chance of rain Wednesday night and Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This could be the number 1 tax saving strategy for your retirement savings, and it's hidden inside IRS tax code section 1.408A-4. Discover what it is and how you can make your money go further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by advisors from financial and tax architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis, and you'll learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing Social Security, paying for health care, and more. And they do it for free, but bring 3 canned goods for a St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There are a few openings left for classes this month, so register now by calling 314-947-2012, 314-947-2012. That's 314-947-2012.
I don't know if you heard with them, these energy mandates. Luckily, this year they stopped the continuation of this government mandates, but the new refrigerants did not stop, so that is out. So be careful, buyer beware on what you're purchasing. If you're looking for a new system and just want a common sense approach to picking a system, i.e., are you going to save money? Is your energy bills going down? All the stuff that we've been hearing for about the last 25 years. Bottom line is, when it comes to the efficiencies, it's going to be your house. I only have 60 seconds to do this in, so if you want a common sense approach and you are looking at purchasing a system or getting prices on systems, please call me. It's one easy number, Missouri and Illinois. It's 314-293-2600. 314-293-2600, or on the internet is bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Hey guys, it's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois.
Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health. Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
The Foley Foundation works tirelessly to bring American hostages home. Kim St. here. We're raising awareness about the Foley Foundation's mission to reunite families, hold captors accountable, and prevent future hostage taking. Visit 971talk.com/events to learn more. That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about. That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride. Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh yeah, here's the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Mannie Frey Show.
That's the new open for the Mannie Frey Show. We hope you like it. There is a little bit of Annie Frey Show in there, a little bit of Mannie Frey Show. This is Ryan Wiggins, Brad Rangen here filling in for Annie today. She will be back on Wednesday, quick weekend trip. Little Super Furry Animals I played in there. I am actually going to go see the lead singer of Super Furry Animals on Wednesday night. So that means I probably won't be here Thursday. I'm driving up to Chicago, just making a random solo trip. I could not find anybody to go with me because that is a band that nobody knows anything about, including my close friends. And they were like, we are aware that you like them, but we are in our 40s and it is a weeknight and it's in Chicago. And I'm like, I get it, but like, don't you want to be young still?
We're old men.
Yeah. So if I'm not here on Thursday, that's why. It's because I'm in Chicago for one night seeing a guy. The band was never that big, especially in America. But now they're 20 years past when they even were around. And it's just the singer who's coming. And he's playing in a bar that may be about as big as this studio. And that's why I'm like, I want to be in the room with that guy.
On the bar.
Yeah, he might be on the bar like Coyote Ugly and dancing around. And I just want to be in the room. You know how it is if you're just like a fan of somebody? I don't even care really what they're doing. I just want to be there to say I was like shook the guy's hand just to say
I know him.
Got a picture.
I met him.
So anyway, that's what's going on. The YouTube live chat poll today is very, very broad, and I've seen some people saying, I just need more context. No, the answer is you have to come up with a context because you could apply it to the markets. You could apply it to your personal safety. Do you feel safe in 2025? I'm feeling safer. I'm feeling less safe, or I feel about the same. Of course, the reason actually that I said I would like to do this poll today is because of this.
If he was trying to terrorize our family, our friends, the Jewish community who joined us for a Passover Seder in that room last night, hear me on this. We celebrated our faith last night proudly, and in a few hours, we will celebrate our second Seder of Passover again proudly. No one will deter me or my family or any Pennsylvanian from celebrating their faith openly and proudly.
We don't really know the motive, though, do we? That was the
No.
governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. There was somebody who set the governor's mansion on fire, and it's pretty bad. I mean, they legit set it on fire, and nobody was hurt, but they were trying to get him. We just don't know why. As far as we know, there was not really like a... People jumped to the conclusion that this was anti-Semitic.
Well, people on the left were saying this is a right-wing extremist. People on the right were saying this is a left-wing extremist, and it might just be a crazy guy.
You said earlier that the one fact they found,
I had saw something, and I'm still looking to verify this, but they said that something to do with the state of Pennsylvania repossessing and selling his property.
So he was mad at the governor because the law came
Something
after
like
him or
that.
something like. So it doesn't seem to be motivated by anything other than maybe personal animus, as far as we can tell right now. That could completely change. But at the same time, I had Brad pull this clip from Taylor Lorenz. And here's the deal. I'm not saying Taylor Lorenz represents the entire left.
No.
I'm not doing that. That's not fair to do that. But she was a writer for a long time at the Washington Post. And the Washington Post kind of does represent the left in a lot of ways. Not that she's the only writer there, but she was a writer there for a long time. This is her talking about Luigi Mangione just this weekend.
Hilarious to see these millionaire media pundits on TV clutching their pearls about someone standing a murderer when this is the United States of America, as if we don't lionize criminals, as if we don't have, we don't stand murderers of all sorts, and we give them Netflix shows. There's a huge disconnect between the narratives and angles that sort of mainstream media pushes and what the American public feels. And you see that in moments like this. And I can tell you, I saw the biggest audience growth that I've ever seen, because people were like, oh, some journalist is actually speaking to the anger that we feel.
The women who gather outside court in New York.
So you're going to see women, especially, that feel like, oh my God, right? Like, here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Yeah, I just realized women will literally date an assassin before they swipe right on me. That's where we are. I'm sure you wouldn't like to be compared to a Trump supporter, but some of how people cannot understand why people have sympathies for Mangione strikes me as the same as a lot of media not understanding why people support Trump.
I totally agree.
It's because a lot of people are just really, really desperate.
They want somebody to take on the system. They want somebody to tear down these barbaric establishment institutions.
This comes in light of new polling that shows that attitudes toward political violence are polarized, in that the majority of Americans still think that political violence is wrong, but more and more Americans think, yeah, that's kind of a viable solution to our problems. That's not a great trend. And that's why we asked the poll today, do you feel safe in 2025? So in light of that, again, now I'm not painting a broad brush here and saying this represents everybody, but I told this story this weekend on my show on Wiggins America. And if you didn't hear it, I'll tell it again. I was driving down Market Street on Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. I don't remember which. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon, so I was headed home. And by the way, the traffic in St. Louis lately, I don't know if you're going into Missouri, if it's been okay, but if you're trying to get into Illinois, it has been terrible. Awful. And Sue Thomas does a great job of reporting. So when I'm in the car and I hear her say, oh, if you're trying to get into Illinois, I'm like, thank you. At least somebody just sees me. Thank you.
I feel seen.
Yeah, because it's been really, really bad. Just trying to get out of the city. Every bridge they're doing, in her words, emergency repairs on. Now, I live in Collinsville, and I don't know if anybody's talked about this, but a huge portion of 5570 just fell out of the bridge. This was 2 weeks ago or so, right by where I live. A section of the road that goes over another section of 159 just fell out, and you could just see through it. Amazingly, nobody got hurt. That is a major interstate. Two interstates meet right there, and not a single person drove into what amounted to basically a interstate pothole sinkhole that, I mean, a car could have just destroyed itself driving through this thing. It didn't happen. They were able to get over it and metal plate this thing up. But apparently Illinois is now going, oh, crap. And they're fixing all these different issues. I don't know if that alerted them. I really don't know. I'm just saying, from my perspective, it looks like a huge hole opened up in an interstate, and now they're working on all the bridges at the same time. And they call it emergency repairs. So take that for what it's worth. But I was driving down Market Street, again, trying to go places I don't usually drive because I'm trying to get out of the city. You've dealt with the same thing. And I see a protest. And this protest is not small, but it wasn't big. It's not the oligarchy tour or whatever. Right. It was just a small downtown protest. But the direction I was driving, they were walking the same direction as me, which means their signs were kind of facing away, so I couldn't quite see. So I waited till I got to a stoplight to kind of turn and see what this protest was, because I was interested to see. And the guy, I couldn't see everybody, but the guy who was in the back, who was wearing, it was kind of cold that day, he was wearing a beanie, he was wearing sunglasses, and he was wearing a mask. So almost impossible to tell. And that immediately sends up red flags like, is this going to get violent? Because if they're not going to show their face, you're like, what's going to happen here? But it didn't look like they were trying to be. He was just a little bit in the back, and he was the only one I could really see the sign. And again, he's wearing a mask. The mask is not an N95. It's just one of those paper spit guard masks. And the sign says, "Wash U stands for the science." So naturally, I start eyeing this guy and thinking, is this a Wash U protest? I can't tell what they're my guess is that the whole protest was against funding cuts for universities and for grants and stuff like that.
It's a Doge protest.
And that was my assumption. But I couldn't help but think this guy is holding up a sign that says, "Trust the science," or whatever it was. Wash U, trust the science. And he's wearing a paper mask that does nothing outside, not near anyone. If that's the state of what's coming out of universities, I'm okay with cutting some of the grant money that's going to support that science. Again, as I stated at the beginning of this segment, that doesn't mean that's everybody. That doesn't mean that's every single person who goes to every single one of these universities. It just means that I think we've really lost our way. And the Trump administration is doing something very, very interesting right now that's not getting reported on because there's so dang much to report on. And one of those things is they are pulling grants and federal contracts from major universities, left and right. I should say quickly, not left and right, because they're mostly left. The University of Pennsylvania lost almost $200 million for infractions regarding transgender athletes on women's sports teams. So he's enforcing Title IX. Columbia University has lost $400 million in federal contracts because they have not changed some of their, or at least initially, they did not change some of their policies regarding anti-Semitic protests and racist protests. This is happening possibly to Harvard as well. It doesn't go into the specific numbers. It just says the Trump administration is reviewing billions of dollars in contracts and gave the school a list of policies it wants to be changed. Here's what's really going on here, though. The Trump administration, I'm sure, is looking at universities across this country and saying, what exactly are you providing? What exactly is higher education providing at all? And more importantly, if it is providing something, why should you, the taxpayer, be subsidizing it at all? Let alone if it's doing anti-Semitic things and putting boys and girls sports and basically communist indoctrination is what's going on across the country at some of these, especially Ivy League schools. Why should you have to subsidize that? It's a great question. And the answer is you shouldn't have to subsidize that. There are a lot of private universities that get by former alumni donations. They get by on grants. They get by on tuition. That's how they survive.
A lot of universities have endowments, a lot of them. And these endowments are huge, and they're still collecting gaudy amounts of tuition from students and money from the government, and they just keep stacking money into these endowments. To what purpose? I don't know. Maybe so some dean or some president can have a building built and their name put on it or something like that. But why don't they use those endowments to help the students that are going there?
Look, $400 million has been pulled from Columbia University. And that's probably not all the federal money they're given. I doubt that's 100% of all the money that they're given from the government. But that's nearly $500 million that's going to one university 1 year. That is a ton of money across the country that you're spending. And the argument used to be that, well, yes, but don't we want to educate people? Don't we want to educate our population?
Educating the populace helps the populace.
Helps everybody. But what exactly is the argument now? Is that still the argument? Because I don't think it is. It's the old PBS argument. Well, you want to have something that's not commercially funded, that's just in the best interest of the public. But that stuff that's dinosaur stuff.
It is amazing to me how anything like that, PBS is a great example, NPR is a great example. If it's not, what is it, corporately funded, always gets infested by left-leaning people.
100% of the time.
And it always gets it's never down the middle, and it's always bent to the left.
And the question would be for any leftist listening, if all of these institutions were not just right-leaning, but pretty hard right, because I mean, universities are hard left.
Right.
It's like 98% of the faculty gives to Democrats. It's not even close.
Right. If they required you to wear a MAGA hat to graduate.
Whatever it is, if it's right-leaning or hard right, would you be okay with your tax money going to it? Of course you wouldn't. So the Trump administration is doing something very smart here. They're doing the same thing with illegal immigrants. They're targeting the worst first. They're going after the gang members, the criminals, and then they're going to move to just regular illegal immigration. That's what's going to happen. They're doing the same thing with universities, and this is underreported, that they're starting with the worst offenders. They're going after people who are breaking Title IX. They're going after people who are not protecting women. They're going after people who are not protecting Jewish students, or really any sort of class of people that's being persecuted. If you're not protecting them, then they're going after you first. But I believe what's going to happen is eventually they're going to move from the worst offenders to everybody, because there's no justification for us spending tax dollars on basically leftist indoctrination at this point. And it is great to see that this is happening behind the scenes, sort of. I mean, it's out. If you want to find it, it's out there. It's just not being reported that much because everybody's talking about tariffs. We've been talking about tariffs. We're going to talk about budgets and everything economic coming up in just a minute with Ryan Schmelz. He's Fox News Radio's Capitol Hill and White House correspondent. He is, of course, our correspondent as well on Capitol Hill, because he joins us every week with the lowdown on the big, beautiful bill. Where is it? Is it going to pass? What's in it? Let's talk about that next with Ryan Schmelz.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Frey Show.
ArtisticDecks.net. That's the website for you to learn more about how Artistic Decks can help make your dream deck affordable. They are in the business of taking your dream, that idea of sitting out in the backyard, but enjoying that wonderful, cozy space, your extended home into the backyard, sipping lemonade, having a nice cold beer, or maybe just grilling right there on your new, beautiful dream deck. Reach out to them at 314-280-0821, 314-280-0821, and talk to them about free design and consultation on your new dream deck. The envy of the neighborhood, Artistic Decks is going to make sure that you are taken care of from the very start. They even help with all of the permitting process. They handle everything. They are insured. You can ask about their over 500 square foot discount. Artistic Decks is there to make sure that you are taken care of from beginning to end, and they can get you in this summer. 314-280-0821, artisticdecks.net.
Hey, it's Mark Cox. Now is a great time to be a home seller in the St. Louis market. Home values are up an average of 2.2% year over year, which means you can take advantage of high prices in a low inventory market, but you should act fast. Start by talking to St. Louis real estate expert Gloria Liu, your home sold guaranteed realty. While the average realtor sells 4 to 5 homes a year, Gloria has sold nearly 400 homes in the last 2. Plus, Gloria sells faster and for more money. Gloria is so confident she'll guarantee to sell your home at a price acceptable to you, or Gloria will buy it. It may seem like a good idea to use that discount realtor or that friend who sells a few homes a year. It could literally cost you thousands of dollars. Worse, your home may not even sell. My advice, call Gloria Liu today at 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Our firm handles hundreds of crash cases involving semi-trucks every year. A crash case involving semis is much different, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can leave lots of money on the table. Many times there is separate insurance for the cab and for the trailer. Sometimes there are actually layers of other insurances and excess insurance that some lawyers may not know about because they don't see that many cases. We see these cases every day. Also, there are federal laws governing the hours a driver may drive in a 24-hour period and logs that are required. A crash case involving a semi-truck is a totally different animal than a simple car crash. We have lawyers who only handle these cases. It's all they do. Rolling the dice with the wrong law firm can be disastrous. Call us on your cell phone at Pound Law, pound 529. It's so easy. Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game. It's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family's summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at gslhonorflight.org. And for HVAC services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Mannie Frey Show.
Falling too fast to prepare for this. Tripping in the world could be dangerous.
If we slash taxes on American workers and producers, our economy will soar, jobs will surge, manufacturing will boom, and our country will prosper like never, ever before. We got to get this big, beautiful deal done. We got to get it done and get it done now. Don't wait 2 weeks. Don't wait 2 weeks. Bad things happen. Crazy things happen in politics. Just get the damn thing done and stop showboating. A couple of people want to, sure, I got to get a little bit more. A little bit more. You know what you're going to get? You end up getting nothing. You end up getting a Democrat bill or worse.
That's Donald Trump, of course, talking about the big, beautiful bill that he keeps referring to it as. Maybe it'll actually be called that. Fox News Radio, Capitol Hill, and White House correspondent Ryan Schmelz is here to analyze and break down where exactly is the big, beautiful bill. Ryan, thanks for being here.
Of course. Happy Monday.
So the House has passed this thing. Where is it now?
Now the process has actually begun. So if you thought that this was a challenge for Speaker Johnson, get everyone on board for the framework section of this, now we begin the actual reconciliation process. So that's actually going to be the process of having these committees go and find the spending cuts, figure out what taxes they want to include in there to reach $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, and also go about the energy policy aspect of this too. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic to watch, because when you have that $1.5 trillion goal for spending cuts, as high as $2 trillion, but the floor, according to the baseline, is only $14 billion. So then you'll have conservative members who are going to be, we're going to want to watch them, like Eric Schmidt. You've got Eric Burleson from Missouri, a couple other ones here and there that could be no's if they don't get the spending cuts they're looking for. But then you also have some others, the more moderate members of Congress, who could very well be in rebellion if there's any cuts to Medicaid or any of those programs.
So right now, are you saying that, yes, the House passed it, but it could very well end up back in the House because everybody's still talking?
No, so they passed a framework, is what the House and the Senate have passed. So now they have to go out and vote on the individual aspects of the reconciliation process and actually put into the legislation what they want to put in there. So there's certain rules they have to follow. There's certain things they have to get by, like the Senate parliamentarian. But overall, now we're going to get to the specifics of what taxes are going to be included, right? So you got $4.5 trillion in taxes over a 10-year span. It sounds like a lot of money, but then when you just see how much the Trump tax cuts cost in terms of renewing the 2017 ones, well, that $4.5 trillion gets eaten up real quick. So then when you have President Trump wanting to add in other things like no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, it becomes a very small margin that they're working with to get everything in there.
Ryan, is it normal for Congress to pass a framework and then fill it in? Is that the normal process?
This is the normal process in which they do this, and we don't see it often. Keep that in mind that, you know, in order for reconciliation to really be useful and to be utilized, you usually have to have a president and a president who has control of Congress. So Barack Obama did this. This is how Obamacare became law. President Trump did this back in 2017. That's how they got the 2017 tax cuts passed. And President Biden got a number of his big legislative agenda items passed through reconciliation. So it's not something we see all the time. They can really only do it if those stars align in terms of Congress and the president. But we've seen it happen a couple times the last every 4 years or so.
Hey, Ryan, this is Brad. Quick question for you. I see a lot of people talking about chaos in the House and all this other stuff. My question for you is what we're seeing healthy and all part of the process? Is this normal to see this much chaos, or is this kind of abnormal?
I don't know. This is my first Congress, so it's kind of really hard to tell what the definition of a chaotic Congress looks like because it's kind of the only one I've ever known. You didn't see a lot of drama, I would say, when Democrats had, you know, control of that House for just a couple of months under Nancy Pelosi. There wasn't really too much major infighting going on, but that's also because Pelosi was on her way out, so the stars were kind of aligning for new Dem leadership to start taking over there. But at the same time, you know, this is, or at least the last Congress was the first one ever where they booted a speaker. We'd never seen that happen before. And that led to an entire month of infighting, of very long closed door meetings, of elections that were behind closed doors. You know, they had, I think it went through 4 nominees during that span before Mike Johnson finally had enough votes to actually become speaker. So that was certainly something that was very abnormal for any congressional calendar.
Ryan Schmelz is with us. He is Fox News Radio's Capitol Hill and White House correspondent. He's, of course, kind of our correspondent. He joins us every week, and we're happy about that. Ryan, what can you speak to the specifics of what they're talking about? You know, is there anything that once they pass this bill that the average American is going to notice that it'll affect them in any significant way?
Well, I think if they get no taxes on tips passed, that's going to very much uproot a lot of the tax policy in this country. I think it could be the same thing for no taxes on overtime. Obviously, the 2017 tax cuts would avoid quite a substantial tax increase on a number of different Americans and a number of different income brackets. So those certainly are things that I think we would notice very quickly. You'd probably see a lot of the DOGE cuts being codified into law. But maybe some energy policy would be things that you notice too, because that's actually a part that's in here that might not get as much attention as people think. But certainly that this could greenlight a lot of new energy projects if they get this bill passed.
Let's talk about tariffs. You know, everybody's talking about the market's up today, or at least it was last time I checked. Can change in any couple of minutes. But the news that I was seeing this weekend and even this morning that I really haven't heard much about, so I'm hoping you have heard a little bit more about this, is that Trump has actually got some deals either really close to being done or done with multiple nations to get rid of some of these tariffs. Have you heard anything more about that?
I have not heard too much on that. A lot of the attention really has been on China and the back and forth that's going on between President Trump and President Xi, and kind of figure out what the end game looks like there, because both countries, the tariffs they're putting on here are pretty substantial, and they haven't really had too much of a negative impact on the markets just yet. It looks like the markets are still reacting positively to the pause in all the other countries, especially the allied countries. But right now, there's a little bit of a back and forth going on with China and President Trump. And, you know, I think this gets received a little bit more well. You know, we have polling that shows that the American people don't really like the idea of tariffs on allied countries. But when you start talking about tariffs on adversarial countries like China, like Russia, the polling gets a lot higher and goes over 50%.
So America sounds like it's willing to kind of see this through on Chinese products. Is part of that you know, China is just seen by both parties as just, there's no real contingency in the United States that says openly anyway, yeah, China is great. We should be doing more business with them?
I think, yes, there is a consensus on the concerns about China from both parties. I think that definitely plays into it. I think that there has been a recognition that in some cases, China has gotten the better end of trade deals throughout our history. That's why President Trump tried to focus on getting the USMCA passed. There was a trade deal back when he was during his first term. And I think that there is a little bit more just of a focus on China and a willingness to be focused on China. And what's interesting, too, is, and somebody pointed this out, maybe 10 years ago, a trade war with China would have been a lot more detrimental to U.S. markets. But, there are more trading partners now with the United States that can kind of fill the void with China when it comes to cheaper products. It can't really completely erase China or make up for China, because think like something like farmers in America who sell their soybeans to China. The Chinese market loves American soybeans. You can't exactly replace that because that's a huge consumption in the market. But there are countries that have stepped up and kind of filled the void with China over the years, not replaced it like I just said, but it's not the dependency maybe that it used to be.
Ryan, I wanted to change gears one more time. Hopefully I'm not throwing you a curveball here, but rescission packages.
I'm glad you asked. I was going to ask the same thing.
Where are we on that? Do we have any more movement on that? Does that have to be part of this big, beautiful bill? Can it be something else?
Well, yeah, I don't think it has to be part of the big, beautiful bill. And it's quite frankly, it's a pretty simple tool for the president to use because it only needs a simple majority from the Senate and the House. And the president can send it at any time. I've not gotten any specific updates on when or timeline for a rescissions package, but the last big update I got was you had Senator Kennedy and a couple of other Republicans go to the White House, and Kennedy pretty much said to Susie Wiles and President Trump, hey, we want to see a rescissions package soon. And they were told that they would be getting one soon. So soon is probably the best timeline I have for you right now. But I wouldn't be shocked if we see something within the next couple of weeks when Congress gets back.
I understand you just answered the question I was going to ask, but I want to ask a little bit more about it because this is something that I think a lot of us who are watching Doge say, oh, well, this is the solution right here. I mean, the rescissions, they just take it to Congress and Congress goes, stamp, all done, cut from the budget. I mean, are they trying, though, to do it all at once, to bring all the Doge cuts and say, here, let's get rid of all this? Because it seems like they could just bring them one at a time over and over, unless it just takes too much time for Congress to vote that much.
I could probably tell you that when it comes to the Senate, things move slowly there. And right now, a lot of the Senate floor time is being eaten up by confirming President Trump's nominees. There are even thoughts of maybe canceling the April recess in order to get some of these nominees confirmed. So that's kind of a problem when it comes to the Senate, is that, and why reconciliation's got such a big emphasis is because you save a lot of Senate floor time because you're putting everything into one giant package, and that saves them a lot of time and a lot of effort. On the other hand, though, yes, I mean, there have been senators who've been trying to push for Doge to send more of these cuts quicker. Because I think Rand Paul is maybe a good example of this, where he likes the idea of Doge. It's made him really become a bigger supporter of President Trump compared to what he was prior to the presidential election. But yeah, there's this question of, well, there can always be legal challenges if you do this by executive order. What the line is, you live by the pen, you die by the pen. So I think there are members, and it's kind of becoming more of a vocal group of them who are saying, send us a package, let's get this passed, let's actually get these savings on the docket, and then we can move forward from there.
Ryan, I'm all in favor of them skipping the April recess, but does that mean that you don't get a vacation?
Oh yeah, no, that's what would have happened. Yes, but we are in April recess. We've got.
Oh, you are in April.
Next week, and I'm going to enjoy it.
I just wanted to make sure because I want to look out for you too. Before we go, Ryan, I do want to ask you about the SAVE Act. The House has passed this voter, bill that would fortify elections a little bit more, make voting a little bit more secure. Where is it at with the Senate? Does it have any chance of passing the Senate?
It might have a chance, but it's to be determined. Only 4 Democrats voted for it in the House. We thought there might be more. Maybe they could have gotten upwards of 10. There was one Democrat last Congress who supported in the Senate. That was John Tester. He's no longer here. He's replaced by a Republican. So I'm not saying it's impossible to find 7 Democrats who'd be willing to vote for the SAVE Act, but it's going to be tough. So it doesn't look like the votes are there right now. That could change. I think it just depends on if Leader Thune's going to prioritize trying to pass this and if they go through a more aggressive whip counter. But as of right now, I just don't think it has the votes.
Are there any Democrats you're hearing? Maybe not 7, but are there a couple?
There could be. Nothing hard on the record that I've seen just yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's a couple at least who are considering it or might want to make some changes to it or amendments, all that could be possible. But just right now, I haven't heard anything hard on the record.
Well, we appreciate the update. Ryan Schmelz is Fox News Radio's Capitol Hill and White House correspondent. And of course, you hear him every week here on the Annie Frey Show. Always appreciate the time, Ryan.
Hey, thank you. Have a great day.
I just been watching this budget bill because as we all have been with Doge, we're all excited about Doge and everybody's like, yeah, finally they're cutting, all the crap that we've been spending money on for so long and the stories that come out, everybody left and right goes, oh yeah, there's no defending that one. And yet, as Rand Paul has said, but we're just going to vote for the same budget and refund these things. They're cutting them. We have to cut them. So the rescissions thing, like you said, Brad, that is key to the whole thing. I don't know that it's going to make a big enough dent in the budget to balance the budget, but at least we're moving toward it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that we'll be refunding some of these things. So maybe the rescissions have to wait for the big, beautiful bill to get through, and then they can rescind them from the big, beautiful bill.
I would think that all these things are tied together.
Yeah.
That, because I remember he said, Senator Kennedy went and talked with Trump. This is Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, Republican,
right?
Who went and talked with Trump about this rescissions idea and package and so on. So they know that it's there. It's got to be included in the discussion of this thing. Is it that they include it in the cuts themselves, or do they pass the bill then cut it, like you said? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I think they're probably trying to figure that out.
Well, yeah, and I think that there's a certain amount of strategy that has to go into it. I mean, it's weird to think of Congress as a strategy game, but it really is that.
That's the only reason that I have been optimistic about what they're doing, because when you look at the hard numbers, they're not cutting enough. We're still going to be in debt, not just in national debt, but in yearly debt. We're still spending more than we're taking in, and we're cutting taxes, which is great, but then you got to cut more government. And the numbers don't add up.
Right.
But they keep saying, yes, but there's a strategy. And there's enough people who are absolute fiscal hawks that are saying, yes, but there's a strategy. And the only thing I can come up with is that there's so many allocations to things they can't really do anything about without changing laws. There's a lot of social safety net stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about Social Security and Medicaid. I'm talking about other stuff too. There's a lot of things that you can't just cut from the budget because they're part of the law. So they're already included in it. So you have to kind of cut around these things instead of cutting the things themselves. And that's where I'm like, I think there's probably a lot of strategy in that part while they're trying to do the tax cuts that I'll give them a little bit of deference. But the problem is we've given people deference for a long time and they just keep spending more. It just seems like maybe now is the time where they're going to do something about it.
Yeah, and I'm also really, and this is like with cutting, but I'm really interested to see if they can get that no tax on tips through. The no tax on overtime thing would be huge.
Yeah,
it would be absolute. Like, I don't think people realize how big that is, because people already love going and working overtime, even though the government takes a huge chunk of it, because they get double time and a half, stuff like that. And if you could remove the tax burden from that completely, there are people that would never leave work, and the productivity of this country would go through the roof.
Well, the other thing that's really interesting, Todd Sivia was in last week and was just talking about some of the things in the bill that they're really getting no attention. And one of them, because he does a lot of small business attorney, estate planning is what we talk about with him a lot, but he does a lot of things. And he said, one of the things that's in this bill, at least as it is, don't know if it will be eventually, is that right now, if you buy things for your business, hard goods and things like that, there's a 50% tax deduction on that.
Right.
What they're working on as part of the tax cuts is that it would be 100% tax deduction on all of the hard goods that you bought. Well, you think small businesses wouldn't shoot up like crazy?
Oh my gosh.
That's a 50% gain for them on everything they buy. So that's massive. And it's stuff like that that's not being talked about much.
Well, and what that does is that encourages small businesses not only to be formed, but to also grow. And then what you do when you do that, you grow small businesses. When small businesses grow, then you grow jobs.
Yes.
And like one of the things, you mentioned this in the very first segment, one of the things I always hear from people on the left talking about is like, we don't have enough workers. Yes, that's how supply and demand works. Whenever you don't have enough workers, guess what companies do? They compete for those workers. And guess what else happens? Wages go up. When they're competing for you as an employee, your value is going to go up. So growing small businesses, creating more jobs, limiting the amount of workers, that's really going to help the American people. And that also increases your tax base.
It's important to have these conversations in light of all the things that are happening, because we're going to focus on tariffs because it's big, it's dramatic, it's international, and it's affecting markets. And that's instant gratification news, which we should cover. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but in light of all the different prongs to this economic change that Trump is bringing about, it makes me excited for what could come, not this year, but maybe next year. I don't know what this year is going to look like. I'm bracing for the worst, honestly. It could be really rough. Like the tariff stuff, it could be really rough on the markets, which could be really rough on the economy. I don't know. It could not be, but I'm just bracing for it. It's the longer term, it's middle term, it's longer term that I'm like, man, if you can reorganize the way that we're doing things in this country and start bringing back the jobs and start benefiting people who want to create, that's the American dream. That's the American dream, and that's what we're after. Well, we're long here, obviously. It's 1:47, so we need to get to a break and come right back. This is the Mannie Frey Show. Annie on vacation just for today and tomorrow. She'll be back on Wednesday, and we will be right back.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Mannie Frey Show.
It's bagel loan time, probably for you and for a lot of other people who are watching those mortgage rates dip. If you have purchased a home in the last 3 years, call my friend Stewie at 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Stewie's going to walk you through how a bagel loan works. And essentially what you can do is, especially if you've had a mortgage purchase in the last 3 years, if the mortgage rate that you qualify for right now is lower, he's going to help you refinance with a bagel loan, which means you pay no closing costs. This is a very, very good option for you to lower that big monthly obligation you have and that mortgage payment. Kenny reached out to us on the YouTube live chat the other day and said that Stewie helped him get his mortgage rate down a full point, and that equated to $300 back in his pocket every month. 314-324-4440. Call or text 314-324-4440 and talk to Stewie about a bagel loan. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. The winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit lance.drurylaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
Do you feel safe in 2025? That is the question that we have for you. New president, new administration, new Department of Justice, new FBI head, all of these things. Does that make you feel more safe in 2025? So we've got three options here for you. The first option is I'm feeling safer, I'm feeling less safe, or I feel about the same. We want to know your answer to that, and that's our Annie Frey Show YouTube poll. Jump on the YouTube page, Annie Frey, and vote in the chat, or go to the chat, vote in the poll, and leave us a message telling us why you voted the way you voted. The time is 1:52. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
97.1 FM Talk presents Talk in Action, where we shine a spotlight on local charities making a difference in our community. Join us as we give back and connect neighbors in need. Visit 971talk.com/talkinaction to learn more. Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Mannie Frey Show.
I'm sorry, but I just keep following this stupid space story. Katy Perry, Lauren Sanchez, Gayle King, and Ladies of Blue Origin crew. I got to say, Katy Perry, okay, she's a pretty big name. Lauren Sanchez, was she somebody before she married Jeff Bezos? Was she a model or something?
I don't know. Maybe.
I didn't know her name until she became
an influencer.
Super rich. Gayle King, okay. But is that the best you can do? Because this is just a PR tour, right?
Well, I mean, essentially. But at the same time, too, you got to find people that are willing to do it.
I guess so. But it's space.
I get it.
This gives the influencers more influence, too.
Well, like if you asked me, Brad, do you want to go up in the Blue Origin spaceship? It's 4 minutes up and down. You'll come back to Earth. My answer initially is no.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
No, I like the whole prospect of being on the leading edge of that. If a bunch of people did it and then it's like, okay, they've got this down, it's kind of routine, then I'm down.
I was that way, too, but then Lance Bass went, and I'm like, well, Lance went. I could do it.
Lance Bass.
If any of the Backstreet Boys go, I could do it.
William Shatner made it up and down in the same one.
William Shatner was a great PR move.
Yes.
He's Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course you send him up.
Yeah.
And if you want to have a Rocket Man go, you don't want to send Katy Perry.
No.
She's never covered Rocket Man. William Shatner has.
Packed my bags last night, pre-flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m. And I'm gonna be high. As a kite by then. Oh, miss the earth so much. I miss my wife.
Miss my wife.
lonely out in space.
It's like somebody doing a parody of William Shatner doing Rocket, but it's actually William Shatner.
Yeah, you can't actually do a parody of it.
Right.
You can't get more ridiculous.
You know what's beautiful about this, too, is that this was in 1978. It was on TV. You have to think, in 1978, you go out on TV one time and you just bomb, and then you go home. And you go, that sucked. Oh, well, I'll try to recover. Now, if you bomb, that's your life. You do something, and it lives forever. And you had to think, if you're William Shatner in 1978, you know what? I'll take a shot at this. And if it falls flat, that's the one time anybody will ever see it. But amazingly, somebody actually recorded that. I don't even know how. We didn't have VHS players or recorders at home.
No,
yet.
guys, I got this.
Who recorded this?
Some amateur with a reel-to-reel.
Here's the next executive order. Trump needs to bring in the hero. The DOJ investigates, finds the hero that recorded this. Bring him in, give him some sort of medal. I don't know what it is, but make one up, give it to the guy that preserved that for the world to see. Somehow, William Shatner survived it because he was already way past it by the time we learned that it existed. But anyway, we'll be back. The 2 o'clock hour is coming up next here on the Mannie Frey Show.
There's my home angel on the pages in between. My blood runs cold. My memory has just been stolen.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Men, are you just not feeling it? Could be your testosterone. U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peter's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. Check out the testimonials at usmensmedicalcenter.com. Patients are excited about feeling great, having energy, improved libido. Plus, they love the staff and the fact that they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Spring's coming. Enjoy it. Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333. usmensmedicalcenter.com.
If you're a homeowner, it's time to upgrade your windows with Window World. Mark Cox here. I am a satisfied customer. I love the windows they put in my house, and there's a reason they're ranked number one in the number of windows sold in this country by Qualified Remodeler magazine. They have that lifetime warranty. It covers all the parts, the glass breakage, the labor. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And in over 20 years in business, they have improved the look and the thermal efficiency of over 76,000 customers in the greater St. Louis area. Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. And I think the customer service sets them apart from the rest of their competition. And they have an excellent track record with the Better Business Bureau. They've also raised a lot of money, over $3 million for local and national charities. So be sure and check them out. Call them at 314-993-1800. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. You can also go to windowworld.com.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSuperCenterofSt.Louis.com. That's GeneratorSuperCenterofSt.Louis.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
He's staying in Central America. I'm Tom Graham, Fox News. El Salvador's leader is rejecting a U.S. court demand to return an immigrant mistakenly deported from Maryland.
Sitting next to President Trump in the Oval Office, El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele says, of course, he will not return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the U.S. after a Supreme Court ruling required the Trump administration to facilitate his return to the country.
Well, I'm also not suggesting that I smuggle terrorists into the United States, right?
Abrego Garcia was mistakenly deported from Maryland last month. The Trump administration says federal courts have no jurisdiction since the migrant is a citizen of El Salvador. Justice Department officials also argue Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13 and was living in the U.S. illegally. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling for a global response to the latest missile strike by the Kremlin. At least 34 are dead after an attack on a city near the Russian border. President Trump reacting to Zelensky's latest request for weapons.
Oh, I don't know. He's always looking to purchase missiles. You know, he's against. Listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war. Right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size and then hope that people give you some missiles.
The war began with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Kremlin has so far rejected U.S. terms for a ceasefire agreement. A suspect hospitalized after breaking into the Pennsylvania governor's mansion and setting it on fire. Investigators say Corey Balmer used a Molotov cocktail and was armed with a hammer. Governor Josh Shapiro, others had to evacuate the mansion early Sunday morning.
No fire suppression system. There was a fire alarm system, but not an active fire suppression system, meaning fire sprinklers that would have put the fire out before it spread.
Harrisburg Police Chief, Fire Chief Brian Enterline there. The governor and his family were not injured. America is listening to Fox News.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Unsettled skies with a cool front coming across St. Louis, partly to mostly cloudy skies for this afternoon. Still a chance of a couple of showers, mainly on the spot side. Gets a little breezy, 68. Tonight, partly cloudy, windy from the northwest, 46 for the low. Tuesday, plenty of sunshine, 63. Wednesday, sunny and 68. We've got some rain showers, better chance of rain Wednesday night and Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This could be the number 1 tax saving strategy for your retirement savings, and it's hidden inside IRS tax code section 1.408A-4. Discover what it is and how you can make your money go further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by advisors from financial and tax architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis, and you'll learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing Social Security, paying for health care, and more. And they do it for free, but bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There are a few openings left for classes this month, so register now by calling 314-947-2012, 314-947-2012. That's 314-947-2012.
As Passover begins, I want to share a bit about this meaningful Jewish holiday, especially for those of you who may have friends, neighbors, or coworkers observing it. Hello, I'm Danny Cohn, the new CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. Passover tells the story of Moses and the Israelites' journey from slavery to freedom in ancient Egypt. It is a time for family, reflection, and honoring traditions passed down through the generations. You might notice some of us eating different kinds of food, including matzah, a flat, unleavened cracker, and skipping bread this week. It's part of remembering the urgency of our ancestors' escape and journey towards receiving the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. Many families gather for a Seder, a special meal filled with symbolism and questions that spark conversation and learning. No matter what you celebrate this season, appreciating each other's cultures and traditions helps us build a more connected, compassionate St. Louis. So, from our Jewish community to yours, Happy Easter, Ramadan Mubarak, and Chag Pesach Sameach. Happy Passover.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate. Paid for by Bayer.
Whether you're shaping up a small yard or tackling serious acreage, Steel walk-behind, zero-turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
The Foley Foundation works tirelessly to bring American hostages home. Kim St. here. We're raising awareness about the Foley Foundation's mission to reunite families, hold captors accountable, and prevent future hostage taking. Visit 971talk.com/events to learn more.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh yeah, this is the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Mannie Frey Show.
Hey, thanks for tuning into the Mannie Frey Show. Ryan and Brad and Ethan in the studio. Ethan kind of halfway in the studio. We are watching the chat and your response to the question of the day, which is, do you feel safe in 2025? I'm feeling safer. I'm feeling less safe. I feel about the same. I think overall we're kind of, angling toward crime and, the idea of political violence, especially in light of the Josh Shapiro arson case today, but also all of the violence that we're seeing on a regular basis. Do you feel safe in 2025? You can interpret that question however you like, but that's how I'm interpreting it. People asking that question in the chat, also referencing some of the new shows that Brad and I were just talking about in the break. Black Mirror is back. There's a lot of shows that are bringing back more seasons right now that I'm very excited about. I haven't seen Severance yet. Everybody's talking about that one yet. I've seen the first season, but not the second. And then Squid Game, we're kind of in the middle of.
Oh, they're doing another Squid Game?
I don't know if they're doing a third season or not.
They've done 2 seasons.
They've done 2 seasons.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the second season, but it's subtitles, so you gotta watch. You gotta watch it.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is it subbed or dubbed? Because I know that they make it in Korea, right?
It's subtitled, but it's the first season was great, and there is a charm to subtitles that forces you to watch the show more.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. Put your phone down, watch the show. I got to tell myself that pretty often. But it's also more work.
Yeah.
And unless the show is really good, it's work I'm usually not willing to take. But one of the shows that is still airing live, so not on streaming, I guess you can get it on Peacock. But I've tried watching I did this a segment a while ago on my show on the weekends that I was going to start watching all the old Saturday Night Lives because they have them on Peacock back to the beginning.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, oh, okay, you could watch the originals, except they have all the originals on DVD. Like the first 5 seasons with that original cast are all on DVD. So I didn't really need to watch those because I'd seen most of them. But then starting when Dick Ebersol took over and Lorne Michaels and that original cast left, I hadn't really seen anything during the Eddie Murphy era, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I would like to see what the show was like. And I started watching it in that stage. There must be rights issues on Peacock with streaming because you'll turn an episode on and a lot of times it'll be monologue, 1 sketch, over. And you're like, why even put the episode up? There's not anything in this. And Weekend Update. They must have the rights to Weekend Update.
It's just like a hit and miss then. So some they'll have the whole rights, or
some episodes you'll have most of the sketches, but not all of them. Almost none of them have the musical act, but they almost always have monologue and weekend update and then a sketch. So I don't know if they got to get the host's rights to stream them, or there are certain cast members that never gave the rights to stream and they can only use certain sketches without those cast members. I don't know what it is, but it was really disappointing because I was wanting to watch the kind of what they call the crappiest era of Saturday Night Live, where you had all these random stars like Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Robert Downey Jr. on the show, and they just get completely lost because they're in that era.
Yeah.
And then Lorne Michaels comes back in, I think, 1986, and the show starts to resemble what you know to be Saturday Night Live again, because it was just weird there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets back into a flow and it gets better. Well, you can't really watch it though, because you can watch just what they have. So it's been really disappointing because I did this whole segment. I'm going to watch every episode. I'm going to report to you back how good they are when the cast members joined and did all this. And it was like, this is a complete waste of time. You can't even watch them. But I think all the new ones, they know going into it that they have to have streaming rights. So you can watch the new episodes. But is anybody watching Saturday Night Live anymore? Or are we just watching it in clips?
I mean,
I don't either. Maybe somebody is. It's a legacy show for sure.
Is it getting better?
They're trying in some ways, but they can't resist taking shots at Trump because it's so easy and it does get attention.
Shots at Trump are okay provided they're in good spirit.
They're usually, I can't say they're usually not. Some of them are okay in the last few months.
Yeah.
But not all of them. And unfortunately, I saw one sketch not last night, but over the weekend, that was pretty good. And it was social commentary, but it wasn't about Trump. And I was like, so we pulled that. I'll play that in a minute. But after I saw that one, I thought, they really did a pretty good job here. That's making fun of everybody. Then I saw that they did this weekend a big production. So this was not Saturday Night Live. This was Saturday Night recorded.
Okay.
John Hamm was the host, and they had to have done this either really fast or they had to have had John Hamm involved before he was this week, because it is slick. If you've ever seen the show White Lotus, it was a parody of that show. Now, full disclosure, I have never seen White Lotus. Whenever people talk about a show being great, I usually get to it. I just don't get to it very quickly. Eventually,
You're a little hesitant.
I'll just come to it when in my own time. And with a show like that, I'm like, we'll see. I'm not really big into drama. I like comedy. I like sci-fi.
Do you know the premise of White Lotus?
I don't really know much about it. I know what it looks like because I've seen clips of it, but I don't really know what it's about.
Okay.
So they did a parody of White Lotus, and they called it White POTUS, which the title itself, that's kind of funny. But the problem is, I watched this whole thing. It's over 5 minutes long, and it just takes shots at Trump and everybody who's in the news in Trump world. And that's okay if it's funny. Now, they're not doing it in good faith, but as long as it's funny, then I can kind of get by with it. The problem is, I really did try to find the jokes in it to play for you because they bring up different characters over and over. Oh, here's Eric Trump. Here's Don Jr. Here's Howard Lutnick. And they'd just have a brief appearance and they'd kind of do their little joke and then they'd move on like it was a trailer for the show. But the problem is that I really couldn't find jokes. And that's what's disappointing. So I'm going to play for you every single character they parodied. And you can tell me if you can find the joke.
Okay.
Here's the first one. Pam Bondi.
But I couldn't do it without you, Pam Bondi. You're the Attorney General.
And I've been told that generally everything I'm doing is illegal.
That's it. It's not really a joke. It's just a shot. It's a political shot.
I mean, it's not even like a caricature or anything like that.
I mean, they dress them up to look kind of like them, and the shots look like White Lotus, but that's not a joke. That's just saying what we think what she's doing is illegal. Okay, you're Saturday Night Live. You're not Jon Stewart. Here's RFK.
I mean, it's like I have all these crazy ideas, you know. I have this syringe full of active measles virus, and I just want to stab somebody with it, you know. And I mean, having these insane ideas, like what if we took all the fluoride out of the drinking water? But what would that do to people's teeth?
Is it? That's the joke?
Yeah.
You're just saying things that you don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not making up jokes, and he's dressed like a character, and so you're like, oh, that's the joke. I'm missing it. Howard Lutnick.
Oh, and your Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, is sitting over there. Says he wants to watch America get bent over and railed by other countries.
You know, some people are just weird.
Howard Lutnick. He wants to watch America get bent and railed by other countries. That's it. Howard Lutnick doesn't even speak in the sketch.
There has to be something like that we're missing with the White Lotus
There
show.
has to be. But it's just, if it's just parody, then you'd still add some humor. This isn't humor. I mean, it's just taking characters out of politics and putting them in White Lotus and just saying, here's what I don't like about you. That's not really a sketch. I hate to say it. Marco Rubio and Vladimir Putin.
Can I cheer you up?
Vladimir Putin?
You look sad. Come, dance with me.
Okay.
I guess it's kind of funny because Vladimir Putin is wearing like big gold chains and he's very sexual, which is a little weird. And then, of course, Trump and Putin also.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a 500% tariff on China. No!
Hey, what's the matter, baby?
Vladimir. I think we're all having weird dreams.
It's just like Trump's is Putin's puppet. You know, the impersonation's pretty good, but it's not a joke. Last couple, Eric and Don Jr. This is the only one that was an attempt at a joke, in my opinion.
Here, why don't you make your own? It's about time.
Okay.
Buddy, did you just blend your gold Rolex?
You said it was about time.
Right.
Okay, that's not a good joke, but it's a joke. And the last one, the best for last, Melania Trump. Now, you'd think Melania, you know what she sounds like. She's definitely doesn't sound like she's Southern, so maybe there's something with White Lotus there that I'm missing, but I'm not sure why. Again, if it's just parody, that's one thing, but then you add script, you add jokes, and here is Melania Trump.
I mean, we are so lucky that America will always be a rich and powerful nation. I mean, can you imagine how awful it would be if America lost all its money and no one in the world respected us anymore?
So they have her talk like she's Southern, which I'm like, well, maybe there's a parody thing that I'm missing there. But again, there wasn't really any jokes. The only thing on SNL that I saw this weekend that I was like, oh, that's actually pretty funny. Like it's skewering the whole culture around what you can talk about, what you can't talk about, was that John Hamm played one half of a gay couple in a sketch where everybody was asking about their baby. And it was legitimately funny. And I don't want to just be like, oh, because they're skewering the left. I don't know that they are. I think they're skewering the censorship that you can't ask questions in those situations. They're saying, yes, these are sensitive situations, and no, you cannot talk about them. Here it is.
Oh my gosh, whose baby is that?
Excuse me? It's ours.
Wait, but how?
Okay, I'm sorry, but gay people can't have a baby?
Yeah, but like, where did it come from?
Excuse me?
Excuse me?
Wow, you are not allowed to talk like that.
That is so invasive.
Okay, but like we were with you last night and you did not have a baby.
Yeah, and you guys said that after dinner you were going to go to a rave called Bulge Dungeon, and now today you have a baby.
What we're asking is, how did this happen?
Okay, I'm sorry. Why is it when it's us an interrogation? I don't ask you why you're poor.
I loaned you $10,000.
I think we're just wondering who the mother is. Okay, well, between the two of us, I'm more emotional and I like shopping. So me, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, I have long hair and he is an alcoholic. So I guess it's like two moms, I guess. Yeah.
Guys, how did you get this baby?
Okay, we didn't pull it out of your vagina, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, people think they can ask gay people anything. It's not okay.
Yeah, we don't ask you guys whose butt you use for anal.
Okay. I mean, I guess what's confusing us is you never mentioned that you were having a baby, so this feels pretty sudden.
Yeah, because it wasn't planned. Sometimes it's an accident.
How does a gay couple have a baby by accident?
What do you want us to say, that we stole her?
Did you?
Well, we like to think of it as she stole us.
So does that mean yes?
Why are you confused? English is my 8th language, and even I know what that expression means.
What other languages do you speak?
You can't ask me that! Wow. The transphobia is real.
What? I'm so sorry. Is one of you a trans man?
No. You cannot just ask that girl. But no. God, they should come up with a word for when people have a phobia towards homos.
Do you mean homophobia?
I literally speak 8 languages and I've never heard that word.
Okay, you need to tell us which 8.
English, French, AP French, Navi, Simlish, Blackish, Grownish, and singing.
Where is your baby from?
Us!
But how did you get it?
It? You mean she, they, until he tells us otherwise.
She belonged to Batman Jose.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
You know how you always want to know about everyone else's money? On the podcast, What We Spend, guests will, for 1 week, tell us everything they spend their money on.
My son slammed $6 worth of blueberries in 5 minutes.
And everything that makes them feel.
I want to own a house. I want to have a child. But this morning, I really wanted a coffee.
Because at the end of the day, money is always about more than your balance. Listen to and follow What We Spend, an Odyssey original podcast. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for New Perspective Senior Living, where your loved one will enjoy chef-prepared meals, engaging activities, state-of-the-art technology, and a welcoming community that feels like home. Visit npseniorliving.com to schedule a tour today. New Perspective, where every day is a chance to live life on purpose.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. The winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Hey guys, it's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois.
Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health. Beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at $119 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning package. Visit ZeroResSTL.com today and tell me what the 97.1 FM Talk Mark Reardon special.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Time to schedule your air conditioner service. Get your entire HVAC system checked for $19 a month with the preferred partner plan and be ready for the first heat wave. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
If you use a smart speaker, you can listen to 97.1 easier than ever. Just tell it to play 97.1 FM Talk. Or download the Odyssey app for your phone and stream the station whenever, wherever. Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Mannie Frey Show.
I think the idea is that we can manufacture here in America. As I said, I saw Panasonic, the battery company, right? Japanese company. They built an amazing factory in Kansas, which they're opening now. They put it in the ground when Donald Trump was the president. It's just finishing now. 4,000 new jobs built from what they made deals with the community colleges nearby and all the local community and the local university. They trained people for this. 4,000 high-tech jobs in Kansas. That is what's coming back to America. You're going to see that production, that kind of high-tech factory is going to produce things here at very reasonable prices. So I think this is going to work out. Plus, our farmers are going to finally have access to the world's markets. Our farmers have never had the opportunity to sell corn in India. So what's going to happen is as they sell more and more products, prices will come down.
Mr. Secretary,
gets lower prices. You're going to see lower prices in America on lots of different products.
Okay, that's Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary. How much, Brad, do you think that Trump controls the messaging of the people who go out speaking on behalf of the administration?
Man, it doesn't sound like he controls them a lot. I think that he has a general idea of where he wants to go, but he kind of lets. He seems to have almost a laissez-faire style of leadership when it comes to that. It's like, all right, I put you in charge to do this, so you go do this.
Yeah, it seems to me like you ever seen the show Curb Your Enthusiasm? That's not a super scripted show. It's a partially scripted show.
Mm-hmm.
So they would come into a scene and they would know generally where they wanted to go with the scene, but how they got there, they didn't completely know. And that to me is what it looks like Trump does with his cabinet, is he says, here's generally the direction that we're going, but he's not policing what they're out there saying 100% of the time. I don't think that that's his leadership style. He definitely wants people to be on the same page as him, but I don't think he's a micromanager is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I pulled this article up because, as you know, I'm a fan of Howard Lutnick. I like that he does things creatively. Some of these ideas that we're hearing about that seem pretty big, they seem to have originated from Howard Lutnick. One of them being the gold card.
Yeah.
The pay $5 million and you can be a legal green card / gold card holder. That seems to have originated from him. And then the president decides whether or not he likes it. Another one is the no income tax under $150,000. That's a Howard Lutnick idea that he was pushing that seems like Trump seems to be on board with. But I'm seeing more and more, doesn't mean it's true, but I'm seeing more and more people say that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, are like warring factions. The angel and devil sitting on Trump's ear saying opposite things.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I'm seeing that. Kind of like Lutnick is the one saying, hey, we should use tariffs to fund the United States and cut income tax. And Bessent's like, we can't do that. It won't work. We use tariffs as leverage and get better deals so that people aren't ripping us off.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I actually think that if that's true, that's probably a good thing, that you'd hear two different perspectives on them constantly, kind of battling it out. and saying, here's where I think this will go. And the other one going, no, here's where I think this will go, and seeing if you can find the best. In fact, that actually seems like Trump's style.
It is
to bring in multiple advisors with multiple points of view on big issues and say, let me hear what you got, and then picking the best. I actually like that. I don't know that the fighting is true. That's what I'm concerned about, is that there's like infighting going on and that there's more palace intrigue than we think there is. I don't know that that's true. This is from Yahoo News, so take it for what it's worth. But it says that inside the White House, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has been perhaps the biggest proponent of Liberation Day, President Donald Trump's promised unveiling of sweeping new tariffs on Wednesday. This was a couple weeks ago now. But as the day nears, the potential fallout from those tariffs may well liberate Lutnick from his role in the administration. So they're trying to cause division that I'm not sure is actually there, even if there is a little bit of friction on both sides. Now, one of the things that I find very intriguing is that all of these people are really, we've talked about this, they're really good at doing media. So when they go out there, I do believe that they have a pretty long leash on what they can say. And one of the things that Lutnick said over the weekend was that, yes, we're going to pause some of the tariffs on the electronics from China, but it's just a pause. And people went, oh, what do you mean? Like, it's more chaos. And I don't think that that's really a bad, not the chaos, but I don't think that it's really a bad thing to have these people out there speaking and saying what the president is already communicating. I don't think that these things are outside the bounds of what the president is already saying. I don't get the hard reaction when somebody comes out on behalf of the president and says something contrary to what you want to hear.
Well, the reason that they came out hard against that is because they said that's going to roil the markets again.
So it's going to go up, but now it's not because you said it's not.
Now you're saying, oh no, the tariffs aren't gone. It's going to come back, and that builds uncertainty, and there's all of this other stuff, which I get. There, I mean, today I've been watching the Dow's green. It's 46.57 right now. The Dow's been doing fine. But I also understand too why a Lutnick would come out and say, nah, I don't know that these aren't I don't know that this is just a pause and not permanent. And the reason being is if you're going to use it as a negotiation tactic, one of the things that has to be out there is the threat that they will come back if we don't get the deal that we want. That's how leverage works.
And that's all Lutnick was doing.
Yeah.
Is he's going out there and he's saying, yes, we're going to pause them, but this isn't forever.
But a lot of the uproar and the outrage is from people on the left because they're just looking for anything that they can do to hit this administration. For whatever reason, they don't want this administration to succeed.
It's interesting because when I was looking into this weekend, the relationship between the president and Bessent and Lutnick, it recalled a time not too long ago. The relationship between Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Remember? Vivek Ramaswamy was supposed to be the co-chair of Doge. That did not last.
No.
So it makes me think that maybe there is truth. Maybe there is some friction inside the walls of the White House over this stuff. Again, I hope it's good friction. I hope it's not just personalities clashing. The media is going to write what they're going to write. It's unfortunate you can't really believe what they're writing because they have such an agenda. So you don't really know. Are they really fighting or are they just presenting different points of view? We talked about the different personalities in the Trump administration who have come from media. This is interesting because we've never really seen this before. But I have a list here of pretty much everybody who's in the cabinet or on the Trump team who's come from media, a lot of them from Fox Media. Now, I'm going to read some of these, and they're not, Tulsi Gabbard, for instance, technically was a Fox correspondent for a while.
Yeah.
So she's on the list, but she didn't come to fame by being a Fox correspondent.
Right. But
so,
messaging is part of being.
Messaging is part of it. But I hesitate to bring her into the conversation because there's a lot of people like her who became part of the media, but it's because they were already doing something else.
Right.
So, take that for what it's worth. But I'm going to read a list here. Dan Bongino, Deputy Director of the FBI.
Yes.
Clearly a media personality. Tammy Bruce.
Yes.
We know Tammy Bruce. State Department spokesperson. We haven't been able to talk to her as much
Still
recently.
working on trying to reach out.
Once you take a job in the administration, things change.
Yeah.
Monica Crowley, State Department Chief of Protocol. I don't remember her. I remember the name.
I know her.
Sean Duffy, obviously,
Yep.
Secretary of Transportation. Now, he's tricky, too, because he was a representative, but then he rose to more fame.
He did a lot on Fox.
By being on Fox. Now he's Secretary of Transportation. Tulsi Gabbard, we just mentioned. Sergio Gore, do you remember that name?
No.
Director of the Presidential Personnel Office. Had something to do with Fox News or Fox Business. Sebastian Gorka, know that name.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Grinnell.
Yep.
But he came up in politics too. I wouldn't say he's like strictly a media personality. Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Yeah.
Now she's the ambassador to Greece, apparently. Didn't know that. She's another one who she probably got the job at Fox because she was already in politics, not vice versa. Pete Hegseth, for sure, was a media personality. He is now Secretary of Defense. Tom Homan is on the list, border czar. But again, he came up through politics. Mike Huckabee came up through politics. Keith Kellogg is on the list. We've talked to Keith Kellogg many times, even recently. Great interviews. Special envoy for Ukraine and Russia. Dr. Marty McCarry, Food and Drug Administrator Commissioner. You familiar with that name?
Oh, yeah. He's been on our show.
Has he? I thought that sounded familiar. A few others just to get to here before we get to the point. Leo Terrell. Have we talked to him before?
I haven't had him on yet.
Senior counsel, the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, was on Fox. And then Scott Bessent, Secretary of the Treasury, who we were just talking about, had appeared on Fox Business as a subsidiary of Fox News, but was never actually employed.
Right.
So that's most of the list. There's a few others in there that you might not recognize the names as much of. But my question for you, Brad, is do you think that the Trump administration has selected these people as a primary function that they can talk to the media?
I think messaging is huge and controlling the message is huge. And I think that they understood that coming into this, we were going to face adversarial media, and not just adversarial, but like extreme adversarial media. We can't rely on the media to get us good coverage. So what we need to do is have people that can get out there, that can fight, and that can get our message through even against this adversarial media. So yeah, I think this is part of the thing that made them appealing to the Trump campaign, the Trump administration, is to get people in there that can basically not just come up with the ideas, but clearly articulate the ideas in the plan.
Do you think there's any problem with doing this?
With having people that can talk to the people of the United States?
With people who came almost strictly from media?
Depends on if they've got the background in the area to do it. I mean, like, I know everybody's like, oh, Pete Hegseth, he served in the military. He served in a combat capacity. He absolutely has the chops to do the job. He understands what it's like from that perspective. He hasn't been gone through the military machine, so to speak, the politics of climbing the ladder to get to be that 4-star, 5-star general. 4-star, I think, is where they're at now. But I think I don't think that it matters, provided they have at least some experience in that area.
I like that these people are not part of that machine. That's actually probably one of the reasons that Trump is picking them, is that they can communicate. They are not part of that machine. They're outsiders, and they're going to come in and reform things. I think that's one of the primary reasons. The one, though, that I don't think gets any attention for the reason that, and we're a little bit past this. I mean, most of these people have been confirmed.
Right.
We're still going through confirmations. Apparently in the Senate, this stuff takes forever. But the one reason that I think Trump has picked a lot of these people that people don't talk about much is that they all, because they're in media, are on public record with their opinions. So they all have been out there sharing exactly what they believe, hopefully in their area of expertise, but probably in a lot of other areas too, so that Trump can look at their record publicly and say, yes, you're an outsider. Yes, you may not have done this thing before, but I know exactly where you stand on that. I know exactly where you stand on the issues that would be affecting your agency. And I know where you would stand on me. Because that's part of it, is that they're out there talking about Trump. And for the last 4 years, you had plenty of opportunity, especially in 2021 and 22, to take a lot of shots at Trump if you wanted to. And if they didn't, that would say something about their belief in that guy actually does know what he's talking about, or he's a good leader, he's a good president. So I think that gets overlooked quite a bit as to the loyalty that these people showed, even if they didn't know that that's what they were doing, because he had so much disloyalty in the first term.
That was rough.
That I really believe that's been a key to him picking a lot of these people is their public comments. We are the Mannie Frey Show. We are going to take a short break and come back with the results of the YouTube live chat poll. Do you feel safe in 2025? And I'm kind of talking about crime here. You're feeling safer? You're feeling less safe? You feel about the same? You know, political violence seems to be on the rise. I'd like to know what you think. Let us know in the YouTube live chat poll. We'll be right back.
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
When you enter a place of business, you're owed a legal duty that the place of business is safe for you to shop in. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you suffered an injury at a place of business, our duty is to protect you after that harm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.com.
Hey, Underdog Fantasy just became one of the best places to make entries during the basketball playoffs with their extender promo. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. You start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boosts. Underdog is a leading place to make all of your sports selections, and now you can play in Missouri. You want to get signed up with your username and a password, of course, and then use the promo code MARKR. I'm going to guide you into that in a second. Millions of fans have won billions making plays on Underdog. Will you be the next? And to play, all you have to do is download and then choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. And you can choose from things like points, assists, and more. Download the Underdog app and sign up with the promo code MARKR to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code MARKR. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncbgambling.org.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Build month.
Gain peace of mind that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's Flooring Outlet. They give all their clients attentive personal service, even bring toys for the kids of the household. It's a family-owned and operated business for 25 plus years. They make sure you make the right choice for your home. So if you have carpets or hard floors, you're going to be happy for years to come. 3 convenient locations in St. Charles County, 116 Main Street, in Old Town St. Peters at Mid Rivers and Highway 70, in West County on Olive, and the store in Darden Prairie. Michael's Flooring Outlet, igotfloor.com.
Today's YouTube live chat poll: do you feel safe in 2025? We've got 3 options here for you. I'm feeling safer, I'm feeling less safe, or I feel about the same. Jump on YouTube, go to youtube.com/@AnnieFrey, Frey, and find us there, find the live stream, vote in the poll in the live chat, and then leave us a comment telling us why you voted the way you voted. The time is 2:43. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Mannie Frey Show.
And Ethan's in too. Can we throw that out there?
Ethan's in two. Ethan's in two.
Had to be made known, made clear.
Ethan's in two.
It
He's
is
going to
now.
give us the results of the poll at the end of this segment. But I do want to ask you, are the Blues going to make the playoffs?
God, I hope so. Really,
88% chance
really
that they do.
suck
Right?
if
They just
they
got to
didn't.
win one game.
It'd really suck if they didn't after, they like won 12 in a row. And like
Wouldn't that
got
be
to this
amazing?
Point. That would be one of the all-time terrible letdowns
Gosh.
in sports history.
What is it? They got to win one, or Calgary's got to lose one?
It's so right now the Blues have 1 game remaining. Calgary has 2. We are right now 2 points ahead of them. For those that don't know, you get 2 points for a win in hockey. So the good thing, though, is that if the Blues win tonight,
in regulation,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You get
They
2
win
points
tonight,
if you win in overtime.
Okay.
If they win tonight, they have it locked. They control their own destiny still. If they lose, they still have a pretty good chance of getting in because Calgary plays 2 very good teams, their final 2 games of the season, and the Blues, as of now, hold the tiebreaker, which is the first one is regulation wins. They have that tiebreaker right now. So the odds are still good. If they were to win both games and the Blues were to lose tonight, then the tiebreaker, I think, would shift to Calgary. So the odds
are the
are
only way they could make it.
Correct.
Calgary.
Yes, is if the Blues lose and they win both games and they were to pick up the tiebreaker.
However, those two teams that Calgary's playing have already made the playoffs.
Correct. They've already made the playoffs.
So they have nothing to gain.
So there is a chance that they could be resting guys. But listen, in hockey, you only have so many spots to rest guys.
Yeah.
So you're still going to be getting the large part of the best of the Vegas Golden Knights and the Los Angeles Kings.
Man.
So the easy answer is if the Blues win tonight, they're in.
So just win.
Correct.
And who do they play tonight?
The Utah Hockey Club.
Utah, that's right. That's
Utah
right.
Hockey Club. I hate that name.
Yeah, and it's funny because I like St. Louis City, which is just a very standard.
It's a very soccer-y name.
Yeah.
They had some options. They threw out some options for their fans.
Utah did?
A while ago. Like, what would you prefer? And the one that won was the Utah Yetis, which I thought sounded
Would have
awesome.
been great.
But
what'd they do?
It got the company Yeti wouldn't allow it. I guess there was some sort of
copyright
trademark,
issue.
Yeah, copyright.
They don't own
copyright
the
issue.
word. That's crazy. I guess they were avoiding litigation ahead of time.
Something like that. I believe that is what happened.
Oh man. Wow.
I never want to
So
buy
now,
a Yeti product again.
If they lose, they would be losing to the Utah Hockey Club, which was formerly the Arizona Coyotes, a team that the Blues have traditionally had issues beating. So
it just makes me nervous because it's been such a great run, and if there's so few games left that scenario could play out now. But it says, look, I'm looking at Money Puck right now.
88.9%. Yep. And I think Calgary's at like 13%.
I was in a meeting with a bunch of people this morning, and Tom Ackerman was in there, and I said, he obviously knows more about this than I do, but I said, according to Money Puck, right now, the Blues have a 1.1% chance of winning the Stanley Cup. That seems like pretty good odds. That's what he said. He goes, man, that's pretty good bet to take. Because if you're a hot team, which the Blues have been up until the last couple of games, usually that's what you like going into the playoffs. And 1.1% chance of of winning the Stanley Cup seems like you could win some money on that.
Potentially, yeah. I don't know. I would be surprised if it ends up happening. It's going to be a tough track. The Blues are not there yet. They have made great strides, but they're not there yet. Some of these guys that are still really young and starting to make good impact, they're only going to get better.
Do we know?
I would say there's a chance that this window, potentially, depending on how this offseason goes, the window could officially open for the Blues are a real competitor for next season.
Well, is anybody thinking about next season right now, though?
No one's thinking about next year, but I think it should get you excited about the future that, the last couple of years, not gonna lie, they've kind of sucked as Blues fans.
Yeah, it has
been a rough year, but for them to be back here quicker than I think most people expected, I think is
they play
exciting.
tonight or tomorrow night?
They play tonight. Wait, is it Monday or Tuesday?
Today's Monday.
It's Monday.
It's Monday. They play tomorrow.
You kept saying tonight. Are they for sure, if they make the playoffs, are they for sure playing Winnipeg?
No.
Almost not for sure. It depends on what happens
Montreal?
with Minnesota and Minnesota's last game.
Okay.
But the odds is that they would play Winnipeg. And honestly, I would rather play Winnipeg.
It's either Winnipeg or the Golden Knights, correct?
Correct.
We might as well get a Cardinals update from you while you're here.
The Cardinals had a great weekend. Defeated the Philadelphia Phillies in 2 of 3 games. Phillies, it's not even really arguable at this point. They're a top 5 team in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Very good offense. The 2 pitchers that they beat, both former Cy Young winners. So that's very encouraging. The offense looked really solid, but the pitching, which has been the biggest concern early in the year, looked very sharp for the Cardinals. And Miles Michaelis looked decent. They had 2 shutouts against the top 5 offense in baseball.
Yeah.
Really encouraging because that was a concern through the first couple of weeks as the pitching hadn't looked great at times.
Their bats seem to be better overall than I was expecting.
Yeah, they are.
Because they were in fire sale mode. Like you didn't think that they were going to have this kind of offense, right?
No, and the thing about this offense that people had said is there'd been potential. There'd been some potential with some of these guys, but no one had really put it all together.
They're kind of streaky.
Yeah, the pitch selection in the past has not been great. Last year, hitting with runners in scoring position was a huge issue. They have heavily improved on a lot of areas that they have struggled in the past, and I think you have to give a lot of credit to their new hitting coach, Brant Brown, who came from Seattle last year. The approaches worked. They're taking better at bats, and they're doing a really good job scoring runs this year.
What's his mantra? There's a time to slug and a time to hit.
There's a time to hit and there's a time to slug. Basically, meaning sometimes you have to shorten up. You have to put the ball in. Baseball has become so much about power, strikeouts, and walks. And sometimes you have to be able to put the ball in play and find ways to make small ball work, whether it be advancing runners, scoring runs in different ways. Cardinals have done a really good job of that. The offense has been an entertaining product to start the year.
I am finding a silver lining in the fact that everybody was dogging on them so hard in the offseason. And it's that things aren't actually that bad. I mean, I don't know what the season ends up. I have no idea, obviously. It's kind of like we're talking about with Trump. Like, he's trying all this stuff and everybody's down on it. But hey, wait a minute. Let's see. The Cardinals, I've been to 2 games already this year, which I didn't expect, and had a blast going to the games. It's like I forgot how much I enjoyed going to baseball games because the news has been so negative that actually watching the games on TV and listening to them on the radio, I'm like, oh, we're just playing baseball again. And they're a team and they're like doing okay. They're not killing it every night, but they're in contention.
I hope that as the team continues to perform, if they continue to perform like they have, I hope that people understand that it really is. I mean, I think they're 8-9 right now is their record. I don't know. They're a game under 500, but it really has been entertaining to watch. I've enjoyed watching games early this season, and I hope that fans, even though they have their frustrations with ownership and how the front office has gone about it the last several years, I hope that fans can look at the quality of play and say, hey, this is a good product. These guys are doing everything that they can to win. They care about the product. That's been made very clear in interviews and through the media that the numbers as far as attendance goes increase as we get into the summer.
Yeah, I do too. My kids and I went on Friday night, and it was
good game.
It was a good game. There were no major fireworks until the end of the game when they actually fire off fireworks. But that they, it was just a 2-0 game, and it was just a tense game. They put a lot of runners in scoring position, didn't capitalize much, but the pitching was good enough to hold it off, and it was a fun game
against a really good pitcher too.
And we talk about this stuff so much that it was good to take a step back and walk through Ballpark Village with my kids and just walk into the stadium. And if you forget, taking a kid to a baseball game is a fantastic experience. And look, I'm not paid by the Cardinals. I'm not trying to advertise the Cardinals. I'm just saying, taking my 10-year-old and my 7-year-old to a Cardinals game, they were in awe. It's not that they'd never been to a game. It's that we go to a game or two a year, and this was their time to go. And walking through Busch Stadium, they are like, wow, this is amazing. And they're looking and like, that's cotton candy. That's a machine right there. You get cotton candy yourself. Like, they're amazed by everything.
It's magic.
It's all of the experience that goes into a baseball game that I forgot how much I enjoy. And actually, that whole area of Ballpark Village is really kind of a fun place where they have the little fake field there and the kids run the bases after the game and just stuff like, I forgot how fun it is. And I just thought that was important to share because I know their attendance is like really not where it should be, but shoot, we had a great time. And if they're in contention, it's even better. People will follow wins. If they continue to win, people will show up and they'll start getting more and more. That's exactly right.
Yeah, they've added a lot of stuff this season as far as trying to make the fan entertainment system better. Yeah, they're adding DJs on. I think on Friday nights now, Ballpark Village. They're having a concert series throughout the summer. So I think
I'll probably avoid that.
Hoping, but they're hoping to. I think they're just trying to keep people around. Like, the last couple of years, it's been quiet on weekends at Ballpark Village. That's kind of the selling point, right? Is that you go hang out, go get some drinks, go listen to live music. That's a great selling point. And fans have been so frustrated that they have no interest in hanging around. But nothing is going to sell, as Brad said, like wins.
Other than wins.
So
you're there to see baseball. You got to win.
If the product is good, then the fans will show up. They appreciate good baseball. They appreciate entertaining baseball. So let's hope that it's a better summer than initially expected in St. Louis.
We haven't answered this question yet. It's the YouTube live chat poll of the day. Do you feel safe in 2025? People going, well, I need more context. Well, my context for answering this question is, do you feel like things have gotten more dangerous in this year versus previous years? The options that you could choose here: I'm feeling safer, I'm feeling less safe, or I feel about the same. Brad, do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I do. It's weird because I look at this and I go, I think that we're moving in the right direction. But when I vote, I feel about the same. And the reason I vote, I feel about the same is because there's just enough crazies on the other side that says, even though this administration is working toward making things safer, people are irrational right now. So I feel about the same. I think that there's a better chance of these people getting caught, but I feel about the same.
Yeah, I'm not too far off from you. I would say I feel about the same, except that if I had to lean, I'd lean the opposite direction to you. You know, the news, if you drive a Tesla, I'd be looking over my shoulder the whole time.
That's a good point.
But that kind of stuff is it makes me at least see that there's maybe a perception that things are not as safe. I don't know if that's actually true, if the crime stats would bear that out, but there looks to be more acceptance and more push for political violence, which makes me overall less safe.
Yeah, I agree. I would say I feel about the same. I think depending on different areas of the country that you live in, you'd probably be, if we were down in farther south or in a city, maybe we're saying reacting to this differently. But I think here in my location,
driving a Cybertruck in downtown Chicago, I don't know.
Yep, not necessarily. Okay, here we go. The results of today's YouTube live chat poll. Do you feel safe in 2025? 187 votes. Thank you to everyone that voted today. 45% agree with all three of us and say they feel about the same. 44% say that they feel safer, and just 10% saying they feel less safe this year.
Oh, okay. So it's a skewed to the safer side. I guess that's good. Well, this is the Mannie Frey Show, and we will see you tomorrow. Mark Reardon / Mike Elam coming up next.
Is it time to call Air Comfort Service? If it is, 314-513-0091. If you don't have air conditioning in your schedule here for the week, maybe you're going to need them in the future. You never know when an emergency is going to arise. So it's good to have this number saved in your phone so that when you do need to make that phone call for yourself, maybe if you have some properties that have HVAC units in it that you're thinking, I wonder how long we're going to get away with this unit. You want to make sure that you have the very best right there at the end of a phone call. And that's Air Comfort Service, 314-513-0091.